Hey everyone, I'm Megyn Kelly. Welcome to the Megyn Kelly Show. Coming to you today from Washington, D.C., where we just attended the Senate confirmation hearing of Defense Secretary nominee Pete Hegseth. We've got the whole hearing covered, gavel to gavel for you today. We're going to be joined in a second by Rob O'Neill and Dakota Meyer, Medal of Honor winner, in just a bit. And Michael Knowles will be here to kick things off in 2 seconds. But first, just want to give you my overall thoughts. No one laid a glove on him. He's good. He's got this. I have zero doubts now that he will be confirmed. Joni Ernst was the big question mark, and she was great today. She was very nice in her questioning of him, very respectful. That's not a no vote. No way. And, this is just the Senate Armed Services Committee. He'll get out of committee. But she was the big pivotal vote. Even if Trump is going to lose potentially McConnell, potentially Murkowski, and Collins, which now they're saying he might not. I don't think Pete Hegseth has trouble. I think he's going to get confirmed, and I don't think anybody touched him. And really, to me, the story of the day was how some of these Democrat senators embarrassed themselves trying to. I was humiliated for some. Why do the women always have to be so shitty? Why do the women have to be like these hysterical fools? Why can't they be more dignified? You could lay gloves on him. I mean, Tim Kaine was the worst. I should say that up front. The worst, the most disgusting, I should say. But he wasn't like an hysteric. Mazie Hirono is so dumb. I can't believe she's a U.S. senator. Kristen Gillibrand was like, women can be in combat. You've hurt our feelings. It was like, oh my God. You are undermining the very cause that I know you so desperately want to promote right now. So I was embarrassed for them. I was embarrassed for my sex and how they were behaving today. Then there was Slotkin, who's the newest Democrat over on the left side. And while her background sounded impressive, she'd been with the CIA and so on, she was so annoying. Oh, I know you've genuflected. Okay, you've done your genuflection to Donald Trump. Everyone was just, there's a way of doing cross-examination where you don't wind up the least likable between the person you're crossing and yourself. And obviously these people, most of them haven't done it. You can tell the difference. You see a Trey Gowdy cross-examination, you think he's the man. That guy knows what he's doing. You see these people try to do it, you're like, are you trying to make me hate you? I'm not inclined to hate you just because you're a Dem or against Pete. You're just behaving like a prick. Anyway, before I bring in Michael, just want to say, so I went there today. I've never gone to a Senate confirmation hearing as a regular person as opposed to as a member of the press. I did it because the Hegseths invited me, and I said, you know what, this would be a great experience for me for a couple of reasons. Number one, I do support Pete Hegseth and am very happy to telegraph to the world that I do and that I hope he gets through. And if my sitting there in any way telegraphs to people who need it to be telegraphed, that it would be a good thing to support him and that I think the allegations against him are bullshit, great, I'll do it, fine. But number two, I did think it would be a fascinating experience for me, too, having been on the other side so many times, not as a senator, but as a member of the media, just covering these things to see what it's like to be in the middle of it all. And my takeaway is it's very, very boring. You had to sit there from 9:30 straight. We got out at 2, no breaks. While some kept it kind of exciting, for the most part, it was like, especially these Democratic senators who just want to hear themselves talk. The Republicans actually asked him questions that would help us get to know him a bit. The Dems, for the most part, just grandstanded. And that was annoying. It's fine. It was a freezing cold room. It doesn't really make you want to run out and run for Senate. I'll say that. So Chris Murphy of Connecticut, you should be feeling good because I'm less inclined to take your job now. But when I decide to take it, it will be mine because you're a disaster. Anywho, it was just, did we really learn anything? Or was it all just like an exercise in preening, right? Mostly on the Dem side and the Republicans in earnest trying to search for some answers on what Pete's going to do inside defense that would be different. I enjoyed that. Anyway, enough about me. I think he's getting through. I think he did his job. And one top Democrat senator told me he thought that this was going to be the toughest hearing for Trump's nominees, like worse than RFKJ, worse than Tulsi. So we'll see if that's true. Trump should be feeling great right now because my prediction is Pete will have no problems. Bringing in now Michael Knowles. He's host of The Michael Knowles Show on the Daily Wire. Don't miss a moment. Subscribe to this show on YouTube and follow me on Insta, Facebook, and X. Did you know that American homeowners nationwide have over $32 trillion in equity? And cyber criminals are targeting it right now with a growing scam the FBI calls house stealing. House alarms, doorbell cams, deadbolts, they're not going to work against these thieves because they're not after your stuff. They're after your home equity. If your title is not being monitored, scammers can transfer the title of your home into their name, then take out loans against it or even sell it behind your back. The best way to protect your equity is with triple lock protection from Home Title Lock. Triple lock protection is 24/7 monitoring and, God forbid, if the worst happens, restoration services at no out-of-pocket cost to you. When was the last time you checked on your title? Likely never. And that's exactly what scammers are counting on. Make sure you're not already a victim. You can get a free title history report and a 30-day free trial of triple lock protection today by going to HometitleLock.com and using the promo code Megyn, or just click on the link in the description. That's HometitleLock.com, promo code MEGYN, HometitleLock.com. These days, personal safety is not something that can be left to chance. Whether at home, on the road, or just living everyday life, having a reliable way to protect yourself and your family is crucial. This is why Byrna is the choice for many. I'm excited to tell you about Byrna. Byrna is a game-changing, less lethal self-defense tool. It's compact, it's powerful, and it's easy to use. It provides the confidence to act in any situation, whether you are a gun owner who would like a non-lethal option before you get to the actual firearm, or you are someone who is uncomfortable with guns and you want something to protect yourself, but something that is not lethal. Byrna uses non-lethal rounds, tear gas, pepper, kinetic projectiles to effectively stop a threat from a safe distance. And the best part, Byrna can be shipped directly to your door, and it's legal in all 50 states. Byrna is proudly American with products hand-assembled in Fort Wayne, Indiana. Sometimes a firearm is not the right option. What if you have terrible aim? With Byrna, you actually don't have to hit the perpetrator. If he's hiding behind a chair, you can hit the wall right behind him or all around him. And basically chemical pellets will take him out for a time. Not take him out, take him out. Byrna is a powerful alternative. And a lot of gun owners love it. A lot of non-gun owners love it. It's just a very clever, thoughtful alternative or addition to your firearm. Protect what matters most with Byrna. Visit BYRNA.com. That's BYRNA.com/Megyn to receive a 10% discount and learn why thousands of people in law enforcement agencies are making the switch to Byrna's less lethal protection. Byrna, non-lethal self-defense, always ready. Michael Knowles, did any one of these senators jump out to you more than another?
They all jumped out of the screen at me and made me turn down my earpieces because of how shrill and awful they were. But in terms of impressing me in their questioning, absolutely not. Pete did even better than I thought he would do. As you say, Megyn, they didn't lay a glove on him. Pete Hegseth will be the next Secretary of Defense. People had questions about Pete's qualifications for the Pentagon going in. I don't think people really have questions about that right now. I think, in fact, the result of this hearing is that people have questions about the qualifications of these Democrat senators. It was humiliating. They went absolutely nowhere. So Pete was the first confirmation hearing. And many people were suggesting he would be one of the more difficult. Notice, though, how these hearings have been scheduled. It opened up with Pete, and then all the rest of them, today, tomorrow, Thursday, were relatively easy. These are kind of shoe-in people. In terms of Tulsi, in terms of Bobby Kennedy, in terms of Kash Patel, some of the more controversial nominees, you'll notice that they were pushed a little bit later in the process. I think Pete Hegseth was the canary in the coal mine. I think that the Trump team wanted to see how much pushback they would get from the U.S. senators. Pete absolutely knocked them down. It was a complete strike down the bowling alley. Not one of them was left standing afterward. So not only does this bode very well for Pete, not only does this bode very well for the shoe-in nominees that Trump has coming up, but I think even the more controversial ones are going to make it through. A major, major win for the Trump transition.
Okay. There wasn't anything more disgusting today than Tim Kaine. Tim Kaine, who literally pulled out the old, how long have you been beating your wife? I mean, it was stunning. We know the allegations against Pete. We know that Pete has been a serial cheater on his wives. That is known, okay? So that's fair game, I guess. If you want to go there, you can go there. You could go with the anonymous, the alleged rape accuser. Her story fell apart. It was telling that pretty much nobody really zeroed in too much on that one. But how long have you been beating your wife is defamatory, not literally, because you can't sue senators for what they're saying in this context. But my point is, that was so below the belt for Tim Kaine. Let's just take a listen to some of Tim Kaine today.
At that time, you were still married to your second wife, correct?
I believe so.
And you had just fathered a child by a woman who would later become your third wife, correct?
Senator, I was falsely charged, completely investigated, and completely cleared.
So you think you were completely cleared because you committed no crime. That's your definition of cleared? You had just fathered a child 2 months before by a woman that was not your wife. I am shocked that you would stand here and say you're completely cleared.
Senator, her child's name is Gwendolyn Hope Hegseth, and she's a child of God, and she's 7 years old.
And she was, and
here.
You cheated on the mother of that child less than 2 months after that daughter was born, didn't you?
Those were false charges. It was fully investigated, and I was completely cleared. And I'm so grateful for the marriage I have to this amazing woman behind me.
You've admitted that you had sex at that hotel on October 2017. Now, if it had been a sexual assault, that would be disqualifying to be Secretary of Defense, wouldn't it?
It was a false claim then and a false claim now.
If it had been a sexual assault, that would be disqualifying to be Secretary of Defense, wouldn't it?
That was a false claim.
So you
talking about a hypothetical.
So you can't tell me whether someone who has committed a sexual assault is disqualified from being Secretary of Defense?
Senator, I know in my instance, and I'm talking about my instance only, it was a false claim.
That's good. I assume that in each of your weddings, you've pledged to be faithful to your wife. You've taken an oath to do that, haven't you?
Senator, as I've acknowledged to everyone in this committee, not a perfect person, not claiming to be.
But no, I just asked a simple question. You've taken an oath like you would take an oath to be Secretary of Defense in all of your weddings to be faithful to your wife. Is that correct?
I have failed in things in my life, and thankfully I'm redeemed by my Lord and Savior, Jesus Christ.
Okay. I will get to the domestic violence accusation in a second, because that was the wrong soundbite, but it is a relevant soundbite that we want to get to. This guy with his holier than thou on the cheating allegations and what he did was Hillary Clinton's running mate.
Yeah.
Okay. So this man was fine with Bill Clinton, right? This man who wants us to believe any extramarital activity is abhorrent to him. He's disgusted by it. That's the same Tim Kaine, right? We're talking about the same man. Bill Clinton, no problem, fine. But as president, right? Or Hillary too. But this is a bridge too far, Pete Hegseth, even after he's admitted to being, unfaithful in his marriages and then getting on the straight and narrow. This is the guy. Look at him. Look at him with his head on Bill Clinton's shoulder. He loves Bill Clinton. Accused by sexual assault or rape by how many women? How many affairs has he had on Hillary Clinton? And he wants to get out there and lecture us on Pete Hegseth, Michael Knowles.
It was a complete joke, so it was fitting that Tim Kaine looked like Jack Nicholson's Joker from the Tim Burton Batman. Someone needed to hand that man a comb before he walked into the hearings. And he goes there with that wild look on his face, and he says, "You think you're cleared just because you were cleared of charges against you?" To which Pete Hegseth should. He didn't say anything. He just said, "Yeah, that's literally what it means, Senator." But then he goes on, as you say, he's preening about this. This is a man that we've only ever heard of because of his political alliance with the Clintons. This is also a man who voted in federal law to abolish the definition of marriage. So listen, I'm gratified that Tim Kaine has had this sudden change of heart and he now takes so seriously the sanctity of marriage. And also, I'll give Tim Kaine credit. His attack on Pete Hegseth's personal life was by far the strongest of any of the similar attempted attacks from the other Democrat senators. And the fact that Kane's was the strongest shows you just how weak it was. But the rest of them, Elizabeth Warren, Gillibrand, for goodness sakes, Mazie Hirono, they didn't even come close. So the Democrats came out there. Tammy Duckworth, give me a break. It was really, really weak. And so I'm actually surprised, because knowing that Pete's was going to be the first confirmation hearing, the canary in the coal mine, I expected the Democrats to make this Kavanaugh 2.0. However, Pete Hegseth had a real advantage going into this hearing, which is that people thought, because he's a good-looking guy who smiles well and did a morning TV show, people thought that this guy was kind of dumb or incompetent. And they failed to look at his resume, which kept coming up today, to realize he's extremely educated. He has served his country honorably. He's been under fire, literally, on many occasions. And he was not going to be pushed around by Kristen Gillibrand or Elizabeth Warren, or certainly not Tim Kaine. It looked, from the perspective of Pete, it looked like he was shooting fish in a barrel.
Okay, I just want to say one more thing about Tim Kaine. All right, so first of all, not only was he running for office with Hillary Clinton, he was totally fine with the Clintons' behavior, no problem whatsoever. But Pete Hegseth is a bridge too far for him, okay? Fine. But he was campaigning with Doug Emhoff after the allegations against Doug Emhoff about banging the nanny while still married to his first wife, allegedly impregnating said nanny, and then she lost the baby somehow, and abusing some other girlfriend by slamming her in the face. Tim Kaine out there with Doug Emhoff. Yeah, let's go blue. But Pete Hegseth is a disgusting dirtbag who little Tim Kaine can't stand. This is like how it just oozed out of my, like you're watching it, you're like, disdain is oozing out of my pores. Like, I have to tell you, Michael, it's very hard, especially for someone in my position or your position, to sit in there and not stand up and start answering the questions. Like, are you fucking kidding me, Tim Kaine? Take a seat. Like, it was very, very hard. And then I've got to get to point number 2 on Tim Kaine. I know the allegations against Pete backward and forward. Trust me. I have researched them all. I did a comprehensive interview with the guy where we went over every single one. Beating his wife is not on the list. And the nerve of Tim Kaine to come out there and throw it out there. Watch.
Did you ever engage in any acts of physical violence against any of your wives?
Senator, absolutely not.
But you would agree with me that if someone had committed physical violence against a spouse, that would be disqualifying to serve as Secretary of Defense, correct?
Senator, absolutely not have I ever done that.
You would agree that that would be a disqualifying offense, would you not?
Senator, you're talking about a hypothetical.
I don't think it's a hypothetical. Violence against spouses occurs every day. And if you as a leader are not capable of saying that physical violence against a spouse should be a disqualifying fact for being secretary of the most powerful nation in the world, you're demonstrating an astonishing lack of judgment.
He didn't seem to care about Doug Emhoff's violence against women, which actually is backed up by a whole report by an attorney who was his girlfriend, who she filed it anonymously, but she filed it in the Daily Mail. What is he talking about? What is this? This is just a blatant character assassination attempt.
Megyn, is it wrong that I'm most scandalized in that stupid question by the inability of a sitting U.S. senator to know what a hypothetical is? Tim Kaine said, if such and such occurred, that would be disqualifying, right? And Pete rightly said, Senator, you're asking me to engage in a hypothetical. And Tim Kaine, with this unearned haughtiness, says, I don't think that's a hypothetical. It's literally a hypothetical. That's how the English language works. That is not up for debate, Senator. This is supposed to be the greatest deliberative body in the world. These people have a loose grasp on the English language. We haven't even gotten to Mazie Hirono yet. No serious country would ever have Mazie Hirono as a senator. It was appalling, Megyn.
No serious country would have her. And yet we do. She was an embarrassment. Here's a little sampling of her.
Have you ever faced discipline or entered into a settlement relating to this kind of conduct?
Senator, I was falsely accused in October of 2017. It was fully investigated, and I was completely cleared.
I don't think completely cleared is accurate. Will you resign as Secretary of Defense if you drink on the job, which is a 24/7 position?
I've made this commitment on behalf of the men and women I'm serving.
Will you resign as Secretary of Defense
I've made this commitment on behalf of the men and women I'm serving.
I'm not
because it's the most important deployment of my life.
I'm not hearing an answer to my question, so I'm going to move on. Would you carry out an order to shoot protesters in the legs?
I saw 50 Secret Service agents get injured by rioters trying to jump over the fence, set the church on fire, and destroy a statue.
That sounds to me that you will comply with such an order. You will shoot protesters in the leg.
Wait, there's more. She pressed him on Greenland too. She has us invading Greenland in SOD 18.
Would you use our military to take over Greenland or an ally of Denmark?
Senator, one of the things that President Trump is so good at is never strategically tipping his hand. And so I would never in this public forum give one way or another direct what orders the president would give me in any context.
That sounds to me that you would contemplate carrying out such an order to basically invade Greenland and take over the Panama Canal.
How about a trade, Megyn? How about, listen, I love Hawaii. It is one of my absolute favorite places on earth. I'm beginning to think we might have made a mistake in 1959. So what if it's just a fair trade to Denmark? Denmark gets Hawaii, they get Mazie Hirono, and we get Greenland.
It's easy. So she was terrible. She was just she thought she was scoring points. You know, you could kind of feel that she was like, yeah, I got him again. Meanwhile, the rest of us are laughing at her. Everybody in the gallery was laughing at her. So that was Mazie. But, I mean, honestly, I don't want to choose, like, the worst woman. But Kirsten Gillibrand was...
She was the worst.
Like, hysterical. First of all, she looks like she's aged 30 years in the past 4. Like, I looked around, and she looked like a woman in her mid-40s the last time I looked at her. And then from afar, I was like, she looks like an elderly woman over there. I'm sorry. I'm not trying to attack her personally. I'm just saying, like, I think the job has been a lot for her. And it's also backed up by her hysterics. Like, people's feelings are hurt. Here's a sample.
We have hundreds of women who are currently in the infantry, lethal members of our military serving in the infantry, but you degrade them. You say, we need moms, but not in the military, especially in combat units. So please explain these types of statements because they're brutal and they're mean.
And I would point out, I have never disparaged women serving in the military. I respect every single female service member that has put on the uniform, past and present. My critiques, Senator, recently and in the past, and from personal experience, have been instances where I've seen standards lowered.
So you cannot denigrate women in general, and your statements do that. We don't want women in the military, especially in combat. What a terrible statement. Everything you've said in these public statements is politics. I don't want women. I don't want moms. What's wrong with a mom, by the way? Once you have babies, you therefore are no longer able to be lethal? Because I don't want you thinking, can't serve if you're a mom, can't serve if you're LGBTQ, and then last, can't serve if you're a leftist.
Michael, thoughts?
Yeah. I think that Kirsten Gillibrand began her line of questioning trying to persuade people that women do belong in combat. And I think by the end of it, she had people wondering if women belong in the United States Senate. That was really awful. I think we need Senator Megyn Kelly to go restore the reputation of women in the deliberative body. She did not persuade anybody of anything.
No, I don't know why. On this show, sometimes I have a temper, I'll get out, whatever. If I were in the Senate, trust me, I would be composed and I would be able to make my points without getting hysterical. Yeah, I wrote it down in my notes. It was like one of the few notes I took. At one point, she says, your comments are so hurtful. They're so hurtful.
They're so mean.
To whom? To the war fighters? So you're saying the female war fighters' feelings are hurt? Do you see how you're undermining your own point, madam? Like, are they war fighters who can go in there and take? bullets,
this line of
or
attack,
are they like weepy little schoolgirls who Pete, hurt their feelings and they need a public apology? Go ahead.
Even to raise this point of women who are in the military, who are mothers, that maybe it's not the best idea to go send our mothers out there to go catch bullets from jihadis. Maybe there's something a little weird about that. It's so disingenuous, the objections that she's making, because when it comes to all of these questions, until very, very recently, we didn't have women in combat. Everyone agreed. Republicans, Democrats, independents, women should not be in combat catching bullets from terrorists. Until very, very recently, we all agreed men who think that they're women don't belong in the military. They belong in counseling because there's something that's gone wrong in their heads. Until very, very recently, we all agreed that DEI and all other forms of political correctness and methods of promotion that are not based on lethality and merit have no place in the military. Everyone agreed with that until the Obama administration, basically. And so to suggest now that to want to rewind the clock back to those long ago days of 2013 or something, that is right, somehow regressive and beyond the pale. It's just absurd. I mean, this is the kind of radicalism that the American people rejected at the ballot box in November. And I don't think the mood has changed between that time and Kristen Gillibrand's shrill line of questioning.
I loved how Senator Wicker was the chair and he did a great job. He's like, no, you're not getting a second round of questioning. We're going to run this the same way we ran the last two when the Dems were in charge. And then you've got the ranking member, Jack Reed, who was making all sorts of points. But here's what I love about it. He had all sorts of points he was trying to score against Pete, but this is how he would do it. Well, I would like the record to reflect that I want to say the following terrible things about Pete. He got so far away from the microphone every time he spoke. You couldn't hear him at all. His staff put him a note in front of him saying, get in front of the microphone, you can't hear you. He listened to it one time, and for the rest of the time he was like, and another thing about Pete Hegseth.
Good. It was better for them. It was better for the Democrats that people not hear their ridiculous arguments. On this point of rhetoric and oratory and showmanship, this was the point. I forget which Democrat senator raised it about Pete Hegseth. I think it might have been Mark Kelly, who said, look, I'd vote for you for Pentagon spokesman, but I'm not voting for you to be the head of the Pentagon because, you're just a smooth talker, basically. And that manifestly was not true. He just also happens to be a good communicator. He's a guy who has multiple degrees from very prestigious institutions, who has served in combat, who has led troops, who has fought for veterans, who has gotten legislation advanced. He is a really serious and accomplished guy. Oh, and he also happens to be a good communicator. Maybe that would be a nice thing. The U.S. senators don't even know how to use a microphone. Maybe it would be good in an era when the American people so distrust our institutions to have a guy who is competent, intelligent, educated, right-minded, and also able to speak to people in a persuasive way, as he did during his confirmation hearings.
One more for you. How great was it when Senator Mullen of Oklahoma took the mic and got up there and just unleashed on everybody on the other side, like, you're a bunch of drunks. You think he's a drunk? You're drunks. You show here. Watch this.
There's a lot about qualifications, and I think it's so hypocritical of senators, especially on the other side of the aisle, be talking about his qualifications, not being able to lead the secretary or be the Secretary of Defense, and yet your qualifications aren't any better. Your own secretary that you all voted for, Secretary of Austin, we had to vote on a waiver because he stepped off the board of Raytheon. But I guess that's okay because that's a Democrat Secretary of Defense. The senator from Virginia starts bringing up the fact that what if you showed up drunk to your job? How many senators have showed up drunk to vote at night?
Oh, boy.
Have any of you guys asked them to step down and resign from their job? And don't tell me you haven't seen it because I know you have. And then how many senators do you know have got a divorce before cheating on their wives? Did you ask them to step down? No. But it's for show. You guys make sure you make a big show and point out the hypocrisy because the man's made a mistake.
Great.
Look
point.
At Tim Kaine. Tim Kaine doesn't say boo because everything that Senator Mullen said was obviously true. This is not even the sort of thing that only the senators know about. This is widely known in Washington, D.C. Anybody who's ever spent any time around Capitol Hill knows this. The percentage of senators who sleep with staff members or lobbyists or members of the media is pretty significant. And the number of senators who show up to vote-a-rama, maybe they've had a few drinks, it's a lot. And that's why all of those Democrat senators were dead silent. You know, he was great because they were puffing themselves up so much as these arbiters of morality. These are the kinds of people who support murdering babies and little children. But all of a sudden, they have such moral authority. They're going to castigate Pete Hegseth, a man who has quite clearly turned his life around. They're going to attack him for past misdeeds. And then you get Mullen in there. He says, hey, guys, I'd like to enter into the record this giant mirror. Do you remember who you are? Yeah?
Right.
Okay, great. Please usher along our
mirror.
Secretary of Defense.
Here's the other thing. One other thing. They were like, how many people did you manage at Concerned Veterans for America? How many people did you manage at Vets for Freedom? And he was like, maybe 8 to 10. 8 to 10. 8 to 10. That's all. And you're going to manage all these people at the Department of Defense. Let me ask, and he finally said, I'm going to work for a CEO who is extremely successful. Yeah. How many people had Barack Obama managed before they made him president? Okay. He was a community organizer. He didn't do anything managing people. I mean, literally nothing. He went to Harvard Law School. He worked like a summer at Sidley and Austin, I think. And then he decided to be a community organizer, becoming an activist. He managed no one. Pete Hegseth on the battlefield as a major commanded far more people in advance of this role than Barack Obama ever did. And their party made him commander-in-chief. The nerve of these people, Michael Knowles. I'll give you the last word.
I loved the correction when the chairman said, I'd just like to point out that Pete Hegseth has managed many more people than the average United States senator. These people who sat in judgment of Pete today had absolutely no credibility to attack him. They didn't bring the goods. Pete Hegseth is going to be the Secretary of Defense, and the rest of Trump's nominees are going to have a much easier time because of it.
Yes, totally agree. Thank you, Michael Knowles. Great to see you.
Great to be with you. Thanks, Megyn.
All right, coming up next, Dakota Meyer and Rob O'Neill, those warfighters that we were hearing so much about today from Pete and others. They'll respond to what they saw. Some therapists say that debt can make people feel desperate and helpless. I mean, we don't need a therapist to tell us that. That's obviously true. It can ruin your sleep. It can creep into your relationships. It can wreck your happiness. There are ways to get help. You don't have to just sit and suffer alone and in silence. Let me tell you about Done With Debt. They have aggressive new strategies to end your debt fast. Done With Debt stands between you and your harassing bill collectors. They tirelessly negotiate to slash balances, eliminate interest, and stop the crushing penalties, all without loans or bankruptcy. Done With Debt has one goal: to wipe out your debt for good. Before you make another payment, consider a visit to donewithdebt.com. Speak with one of their strategists for free and tell them I sent you. But you do need to hurry because some debt solutions are time sensitive and you don't want to miss out. Go to donewithdebt.com. That's donewithdebt.com. Are you ready to make better sleep your New Year's resolution? Let me tell you about Cozy Earth. Their sheets made with 100% premium viscose from bamboo are incredibly soft, breathable, and get even softer with every wash. Good sleep is essential to your routine, gives you the energy to tackle your day and feel your best. Cozy Earth also prioritizes quality and care with a 100-night sleep trial. You try their sheets out for up to 100 nights, and if you do not love them, they let you return them for a full refund. Who else does that? And for cozy nights and relaxed mornings, their bamboo pajama set is another must-have. It's soft, breathable, and sleeps cooler than cotton, keeping you perfectly comfortable. A better year starts with better sleep. Wrap yourself in Cozy Earth. Visit CozyEarth.com/Megyn. Use my exclusive code Megyn, MEGYN, for up to 40% off your order. That's CozyEarth.com/Megyn. And if you get a post-purchase survey, tell them you heard about Cozy Earth from the Megyn Kelly Show. I want to get more reaction now to Pete Hegseth's confirmation hearing from two men who know exactly what we need in a Secretary of Defense. Dakota Meyer, an Iraq and Afghanistan war veteran who became the first living Marine in over 40 years to receive the Medal of Honor in 2011, along with Rob O'Neill, a U.S. Navy SEAL veteran who participated in over 400 combat operations, including the raid that killed bin Laden. He's the man who did it. He's now the host of the Operator podcast. Guys, great to see you again. How you doing?
Good. Doing well, Megyn. Thanks for having us.
Oh my gosh, I'm dying to hear your reaction to what we saw today. Rob, let me start with you, because it really was like these senators who, most of whom, they're happy to send you two into war. While they sit in these air-conditioned offices, but when they get an actual warfighter in front of them, they treat him like he's the gum on the bottom of their shoe.
Yeah, Megyn, it's crazy. My initial reaction was Senator Blumenthal, who I can't believe shows his face in that committee, because he lied about Vietnam the entire time. He's been lying about Vietnam since he didn't fight there. And then he finally got busted, had to come out and say, I apologize for misspeaking. There's a huge difference between fighting in Vietnam with real Marines and misspeaking and lying. And so he's up there doing that. We didn't mention, I love how high and mighty they all get. They're not mentioning Senator Ben Cardin had a staffer who had gay sex in the Judiciary Committee room, filmed it, no big deal. And then even as far as I love how Senator Mullen from Oklahoma said, they come in drunk. I've seen you come in drunk. It's almost amazing. Like there's some senators, like the Democrats are playing the cards they play, and their sentences that they don't, their questions they don't want answered. But now all of a sudden you turn the light on and the roaches just scatter. It was Pete did a great job, and I think Democrats looked horrible.
Yeah, here's Dick Blumenthal of Connecticut trying to get, it was a gotcha against Pete on exactly what numbers are in which branches of the military. Watch.
Mr. Hegseth, I'm asking you a very simple question. How many men and women currently serve in the United States Army?
Senator, the United States Army, 450,000 on active duty, sir.
And how many in the Navy?
And the Navy is 425, sir.
Well, it's 337 this year. How many in the Marine Corps?
175,000, sir.
172,300. Those numbers dwarf any experience you had by many multiples. I don't believe that you can tell this committee or the people of America that you are qualified to lead them. I would support you as the spokesperson, Pentagon.
Oh, so rude, Dakota. What did you make of that?
I mean, look, I think that, I watched the whole thing and it blew my mind. First off, that the leaders of the policymakers, lawmakers of this country, that these were the priorities that they were focused on someone who is about to go and be in charge of the force that not only maintains and secures the United States national security, but also really is the stabilization of the globe. And these were the questions that they wanted to ask, the haha gotcha. They used these moments right now in this confirmation hearing to sit here and focus on, the same thing over and over about just trying to haha gotcha. And, the thing when I watch Pete there, it's like, one side of it, I'm sitting back and I'm like, well, say this, from my point. But it's like he knows the game, right? He's sitting there. He knows that no matter what he says, he's got to get through this, and he's got to limit exposure, right? And that's the problem with all of this is like there is no accountability for them sitting up there in that position. There's no accountability for the lawmakers. There's no accountability for any of them up there. But they want to turn around. They want to critique this man over and over, which rightfully so. Look, I think we have to sit here and vet, and we have to make sure that these people are going to uphold the policies and they're going to support the Constitution of the United States. And we want to hear his views on what he's going to do about the issues that are truly threatening the United States of America. But like to sit here and make this out, it just shows you that the priority of the security of the United States of America is not the priority of the left right now.
Mm-hmm. It was pretty remarkable. When Pete got there, he had the support of the crowd. In fact, some Democrats were saying they'd never seen the hearing room like this, that they were stunned at the number of people who showed up to support Pete. And when Pete walked in, they broke out in chants of USA. Here's a little bit of that in SOT 1.
USA! 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 USA!
And one of the most interesting things, Rob, was when they were trying to cross-examine him. A couple did, but Jack Reed, the ranking Dem in particular, on whether he thinks we should follow the Geneva Convention. And Pete was trying to say, look, my criticisms have been you've got these people in another land who come up with these rules, but warfighters on the ground get conflicting messages, especially in today's modern military where they're fighting against insurgents. And they need better guidance on exactly what they're allowed to do, what they're not allowed to do. Here's something akin to that exchange in SOT 13.
Your definition of lethality seems to embrace those people who do commit war crimes rather than those who stand up and say, this is not right. So what's the response to your service members who personally witnessed these and courageously reported them to their superiors?
Senator, as someone who's led men in combat directly and had to make very difficult decisions, I've thought very deeply about the balance between legality and lethality. Sir, I'm talking about restrictive rules of engagement that these men and women behind me understand they've lived with on the battlefield, which has made it more difficult to defeat our enemies. In many of the cases you're talking about in particular, sir, there was evidence withheld. There was prosecutorial misconduct. And as someone who looks case by case and defaults to the warfighter, to the men and women with dust on their boots, not the second guessers in air-conditioned offices in Washington, D.C.
Excuse me.
I look case by case and was proud to work with President Trump to understand those cases and ensure that our warriors are always looked out for.
Go ahead, Rob.
Well, I think that the rules of engagement have a tendency to get way too strict, especially the longer we make a war last. And, the Geneva Convention was one thing, but things change. And then I've seen everything from NCIS, which, by the way, the worst thing that ever happened is they made a TV show making those guys look cool. They're going to get promoted the more people they can prosecute and play the good guy than the bad guy. And they get, whatever credit when they put someone in jail. What I've noticed, especially with my unit in Iraq and Afghanistan, the fewer rules we had, the better we were because we had the latitude and were more precise. And like it or not, we on the ground are the good guys. And the Monday morning quarterbacks that sit in Washington, D.C. and put people in Leavenworth for murder in war. I remember even on the bin Laden raid, before we even got in the house, one of my friends shot one of the couriers, and then his wife jumped on top and he shot her. He looked at me outside the house. This is outside bin Laden's house. And he said, I just shot one of the women. She just jumped in front. Am I going to be okay? It's like, stop worrying about that. That should not be in your mind. And when a Marine is in a gunfight, they should be worried about, well, is some dude in a nice suit that's never been in mud going to prosecute me for this? It's nonsense. And this is the bureaucracy that happens. With the further you go, the bigger the government agencies get. And then it turns into the self-licking ice cream cone, personal power. Can I put an American in jail so I can get a Navy Achievement Medal? And that's what Pete's getting at. And the reason there's so much blowback is because what needs to happen is the fat needs to get trimmed. But what needs to happen at the Pentagon is exactly what Elon Musk did at Twitter. Get rid of everybody, almost change the name, and then be more efficient. And that's you're seeing the death throes of dying policies, and that's what these senators were doing today. And Pete nailed it.
So Dakota, you heard there that a little suggestion that's where Blumenthal was going. Like you can't manage these numbers in the Army and the Navy. You've never managed anything. It's too big. You've done nothing. Totally ignoring, as I pointed out before you guys came on, Barack Obama managed absolutely nothing before he became president of the United States. He was a community organizer. That's it. And then you finally have the last person to question Pete of anybody up there, who was the newly elected Republican senator from the great state of Montana. That's Rob O'Neill's home state, Butte, Montana. Who gets up there, he, and starts, who's an actual veteran, and he decides to go a different way with Pete. Watch.
How many genders are there? Tough one.
Senator, there are two genders.
I know that well. I'm a she, so I'm on board. What is the diameter of the rifle round fired out of an M4A1 rifle?
That's a 5.56.
How many push-ups can you do?
I did 5 sets of 47 this morning.
What do you think are most important strategic bases in the Pacific?
In the Pacific, Guam is pretty strategically significant.
And then he went on, Dakota. That continued for another maybe 3 minutes. And Pete knew all those answers. And he was trying to make a point there.
Yeah, look, I mean, I think that all of us sitting back and trying to figure out or to decide how Pete's gonna how he's gonna do or how he's not gonna do. I mean, that's all 100% on Pete's shoulders, and we're about to find out, right? I think questioning Pete about what he said on Fox News. I mean, he was in a role of a reporter. Now he's about to go into the role of the Secretary of Defense, which all of us should be coming and rallying around and trusting. Look, I'll say up front, like let me just go ahead and own this up front, Megyn, is like, in the beginning of this, I was not an advocate for this. I was 100% against it, right? I was emotionally tied to it. I had a lot of questions and all that. And I had to get set down and really spoken to by another veteran who's in all of it. But she looked at me and she said, hey, look, he's going to be carrying out not his personal views. This isn't about the personal Pete. This is about the person who's going to go out and carry out what the president of the United States wants him to do and what's on behalf in the best interest of other people. And when it comes down to that, like, I 100% believe that we all have got to stand behind and hope and support that Pete on this, that he's going to go out and do the right thing. I mean, I think Pete's got a huge learning curve, like every single one of us or anybody that steps into that role is going to do. What I can tell you is that historically, the last few people who have been in there have not been doing or making a great difference, nor have they been, doing what we need to get our military focused on doing. Our military is made, and the focus for our military is two things: lethality, war fighting, and people. War fighting and people. That is the business, and that is the only two focuses that aspect should be focused on. And that's what we've got to get back to. And I trust that Pete's going to do that. I trust that Pete loves America. I trust that Pete puts America first. I trust that Pete loves troops. And I trust that he is going to be loyal to the President of the United States, the Constitution, and that he's going to carry out the orders that he needs to in the best interest of the United States of America. And that is what I know about Pete Hegseth, and that is what I care about right now, is that somebody goes up there. And look, none of us have a clean record that, on our worst times, none of us would want to trade Pete's seat and sit up there with all these people trying to go and find the skeletons in our closet. I can tell you, nobody watching that confirmation hearing today would have traded seats with Pete if anybody would have knew about a tenth of what people have been going and digging on him for the last couple months, right? So I just think that, like, this hypocrisy of all of us sitting back and throwing rocks at the man in the arena right now is something that is not helpful, nor is it, we all should sit back here and we should hope that and get behind Pete, and we should try to sit here and hope that he goes and that he can handle this job. And if he can't, then we'll see pretty quick. But none of this is on any of us to figure out. It's on Pete Hegseth now. And I trust that all of us should come around him, and we should sit here and help him become successful. Because if Pete's successful, the president's successful, the United States of America is successful, and not only that, the globe is successful. So I think that is the point that we've all got to rally around right now.
I love your honesty. I know that you were at best lukewarm on Pete, which is one of the reasons we wanted you to be here. We don't, not just looking for uniformity in thought. Rob, one of the things, or a couple of things that Pete said today, I know are right up your alley. I mean, we've talked about it many times. And one of them, of course, we heard over and over how he wants to get woke out of the military. And that's been a big priority for Trump. But the other one speaks to the total lack of accountability for the people who have lost our wars, who have endangered guys like you, in many cases unnecessarily, without any accountability for it, like the disastrous Afghanistan withdrawal. And Pete spoke to that a bit at the end. Take a listen to SOT 17.
The wokeness comes not from the uniform ranked, Senator, but from the political class. On day one, on January 20th, when President Trump is sworn in, he will issue a new set of lawful orders. And the leadership of our services will have an opportunity to follow those lawful orders or not. Those lawful orders will not be based on politics. They will be based on readiness, accountability standards, and lethality. That is the process by which leaders will be judged. And accountability is coming, because everybody in this room knows if you're a rifleman and you lose your rifle, they're throwing the book at you. Mm-hmm. But if you're a general who loses a war, you get a promotion. That's not going to happen in Donald Trump's Pentagon. There will be real standards for success.
Never heard a message like that from anybody nominated to this post before.
Yeah, that was the best quote of the day. I remember when he said that, and that's exactly what he's bringing to it. He's trying to simplify it. He's not trying to spin anything. We're going to fight the war and we're going to win. And accountability is huge. And every veteran, there was a lot of special forces, a lot of infantry and Marines behind him. You could almost hear them agreeing with him, because that's what they want, is accountability. They want to be able to have alliance solidarity. They want a forward defense and deterrence. They're not worried about the political class, like Pete was just saying brilliantly. That's where all this stuff comes from. And you could even hear it spun today. I think it was Mazi Hirono from Hawaii who said something like, it doesn't matter who you love if you fight in a war. It's like, well, it's not quite that. Pete's saying if you live up to the standards, you can work. And it's not the worry about the LGBTQ stuff. It's the, are you going to get an operation that requires you to recover for 18 months and you're not operationally ready? That's all he's saying. But the problem is, a lot of times, especially even dealing with politicians, you really got to be careful telling the truth, because you might just offend stupid people. And that's all that's happening here. But Pete nailed it. And that's right, too. The only person who's been held accountable for the disastrous withdrawal from Afghanistan was a colonel who spoke up, and he didn't even say anything disparaging. It's like, hey, where's the accountability? Boom, fired. And that's the way they handle it, because you get to a certain level in the military, you stop being military and you start being political, because you want to get the job at Raytheon, you want to be a contractor, you want to run for politicians. And I've talked to so many, I've been saying for a long time, we need a mid-level officer with experience on the ground to take the Pentagon. And I've talked to so many good officers at the major level, lieutenant commander level, that get out of the Navy, get out of the Army, because they're tired of dealing with the bureaucracy. I have a simple plan, too, if you want to keep it simple. The second you stop carrying your own bags, you need to get out of the military. And that's it. So we need a major in there, a lieutenant colonel to run I think it's a perfect choice. And you know what? If we're wrong, we're wrong, but we're going to find out. Peaches Cruz today, he's going to get nominated. He's going to get the job.
Confirmed. It's funny, because I realized sitting there today that everything I know about military ranks, I learned from MASH. Am I alone in that? Am I like, you're like, wait a minute, who was above Klinger? And then there was, anyway, Hawkeye.
Okay. And I would like to add on that. Like, you look at my instance, right? Like, we do have an officer problem. Like, we've got a lot of great officers. We have a lot of great officers. I want to say it up front. There are some generals that are by far some of the best human beings that I know that wear the stars on their chest. But what I also want to say is we've got a lot of bad ones too. And you look at my instance. You take Afghanistan, my situation, where we've got 2 investigations, direct loss of life due to leadership. These officers got letters of reprimand. They got promoted. Then they got out and retired. And then as this other general got out, he ripped up those letters of reprimand, and nobody was held accountable. Now, let me tell you this. If I had made the decision and got somebody killed or done the same thing that they had done, I would have been hammered. Anybody enlisted would have made or planned that mission that they could have pinned it on. The enlisted would have been hammered. And so, like, seeing Pete come in and hopefully recognize that and fixing it, I just think that, like, I said it a long time ago, there has got to be some level of accountability. The accountability has got to be equal, and it can't be this good old boy club that everybody is overlooking in the aspect of it. Like, I'm in. Let's just hold them accountable. Like if you mess up, hold accountable at the same level that you're going to hold this private who goes out and does something wrong or loses their rifle. Like, I just don't understand why a general, a general isn't held to the same standard as, a Lance Corporal that goes out and gets in trouble. And it's just, there's no way that anybody in the military will say that is not the case.
Okay, let's spend a minute on the sort of main lines of attack against him. We covered a couple, like you don't have the experience or you haven't managed enough. Or you allegedly beat your wife. Okay, thanks, Tim Kaine. Sure, great. But then there was Senator Mark Kelly of Arizona. He brought up some of the allegations that we've seen in the anonymous press, the press citing anonymous sources. Here's a little bit of that in SOT 16.
An event in North Carolina, drunk in front of 3 young female staff members after you had instituted a no alcohol policy and then reversed it. True or false?
Anonymous smears.
December of 2014 at the CVA Christmas party at the Grand Hyatt at Washington, D.C., you were noticeably intoxicated and had to be carried up to your room. Is that true or false?
Anonymous smears.
Another time, a CVA staffer stated that you passed out in the back of a party bus. Is that true or false?
Anonymous smears.
In 2014, while in Louisiana on official business for CVA, did you take your staff, including young female staff members, to a strip club?
Absolutely not. Anonymous smears.
Okay. I'll just say, the audience has heard me talk about this kind of thing before. That wasn't great by Pete, because choose one or the other. Either you're going to say no, 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 or you're going to say anonymous smears the whole time. But to jump in with absolutely not on just the one is sort of an admission. It sounds like an admission to all the others, right? Like,
I mean, maybe.
you're going to. I don't think it was an admission. I'm just saying. So anyway, What did you make of it, Rob? Was it effective?
Well, yeah. I mean, because when he's talking to Senator Kelly, who, by the way, is just ramping up for a run in 2028. That's all he's doing. But at one point, he was saying it's anonymous, and all he said was, "Well, they're not anonymous," with no proof. Like, oh, well, then show who is it? Well,
yeah, like
they're not
he's
anonymous.
seen them.
Well, they are. But I think that the beat your wife thing was so egregious that Pete had to say absolutely not, because that's just ridiculous. I mean, it's to the point where, well, if you did,
he said absolutely not on. Did you go to a strip club? But by the way, it's already all over the press by people who actually did go to the strip club that Pete wasn't there. Like, that's already actually been out there. That didn't make it into anybody's questioning that a third party independent witness has said I was there and he was not there.
Well, he was saying it was addressed and he wasn't there. If he wasn't there, that's not really on him, I don't think. I don't think the chain of command in the civilian sector works like it does in the military. It's not. It would be on the, probably on the XO or the CO if a bunch of his guys went to the bar on a weekend on a trip and then got in trouble. That would be on them. But I don't think it is there. And
but
you can't
Rob,
just pin
don't you think this is where like all the anonymous press allegations did their job? Right? They made their way into the hands of a U.S. senator who then got to list them off like they were all real and verified. And, it's like just the assumption that he was guilty of them all was built in, which is why I think anonymous smears was actually a good answer for all of them. And he probably just should have stuck with that straight through, strippers or no strippers.
Yeah, okay, I mean, you put it that way. Yes, I agree with you. I was just thinking it was the strip club or the beating your wife thing. He's going to answer it that way because, I mean, you got to consider with all the stuff being thrown at him, he really handled his emotions very, very well. This is one of the major reasons I'm not running for office or trying to get confirmed into anything. But he handled it like a pro, and he did get a little upset. But he did a really good job. Knowing the Democrats he did such a good job today, and the Democrats were so bad. I think it's going to make the next confirmation hearings go a lot smoother because they're going to shoot their shot like they always do. We've seen in landslide elections where the American public wants it. Even the media's taking a knee to what's going to happen. This is what they got 6 days left. They're just doing what they can, and then they're gearing up for the next election, which is what politicians do.
The other big thing was women in the military. I mean, they just beat that horse until it was absolutely dead and dead again. Today, he made so clear that what he's been talking about is like, yes, women can serve in combat if they can meet the standards. It's like what I've been saying all week on the firefighters out in L.A. and what most normal Americans feel. They can serve if they can do the job. Although I have to say, there are other arguments for women not serving in combat, like the distraction of it. Like I don't know how Pete truly feels, but I think I might be further to the right than he is on it. But Dakota, do you think that that's going to be an ongoing issue? Because all the women up there seem to be, indignant about that Pete would ever say that there's a question about whether women should be serving certain combat roles.
Look, I think that I think it doesn't matter what Pete said today. I don't think it was going to matter, right? I don't think if he had said one way or the other, I don't think any of it really mattered. Like it was all about them getting their talking points out and their show out. So, I mean, the women in combat thing, like me and Pete, I told Pete on the phone that what he is. I think he clarified today. For me, he clarified today initially what I'd heard, like small snippets, right, of, which talking points or whatever has been spun out is, no women in combat or I don't support women in combat, right? But what you heard him today is clarify is like, no, look, I think I had an opportunity, but like the standard has got to be the standard. We cannot change up the physical demands. You can't sit here and you can't mitigate, you can't overlook those, nor can you tailor those, the physical demands that boots on the ground combat roles are going to require, and it's not gender based. It is the job based. And so I think when he clarified that up today, I 100% agree with that aspect of it, right? I 100% agree with that because to be honest with you, Megyn, like I have seen women that could outperform some of the men that go to combat next to me, right? And so when it comes to that aspect of it, I have watched women who deserve to be in combat more than some of the guys that I've been in gunfights with, and that I'd rather take them anyways, right? So I just don't get wrapped up into that aspect of it. Like, meet the standard, like go meet the standard. Can you lead people? Can you meet the standard? Can you go out and perform? And can you be professional about it, right? Because that is what it's about. And I think that that's what Pete portrayed today. I'm so glad he got to clarify that, and he got to really elaborate on some of his prior statements or what was spun or whatever, right? But I just think that I don't think anything that what he said today was not changing any of their minds. It was all about.
I think you're right. I think you're right. He's not going to get a single Dem vote from the look of it. Last question: how many push-ups did you guys do this morning?
Dakota, I'll defer to you first because I think I outrank you.
Well, I worked out with Lance Armstrong this morning, so I don't know. I think we did have some push-ups in the workout, but I can't remember.
Nice. I had leg day because I had leg day. I'm still moving out of my house. A lot of stuff, a lot of furniture to carry.
Okay. Well, I think it's unanimous. I did 0 too. You guys, it's awesome to see you. Thank you, as always, for being here. Thank you for your service. God bless, and to be continued once he gets confirmed.
Thank you, Megyn.
Awesome. Thank you.
All the best, guys. Wow. Okay. Great show. We got to go. I got to get en route back to. Where do I live again? Up in Connecticut. And thank you so much for being with us and for bearing with us as we dropped the show a little late today, given where I was all morning. We are back tomorrow with VDH. See you then. So how does one become a nice judge? Because when we think of judges, that's not where we go.
Oh, it's very easy. First, you have great parents who treat you, like human being instead of an apostle, and you follow their footsteps, and whatever lessons they taught you as a child, you then incorporate into your life in treating other people that way. Some people think, for example, if you come from a position of power, like a judge, that you have to use that power, in adverse ways. I never thought that. I thought it was a tool for good. I thought it was a tool for understanding people, for helping them if I could, to let them know that I understood their problems. And that was basically it.
So, Judge, you were born then, what, in 1937?
1936.
1936. Okay, so you've seen a lot. You've been around the block. You did not come from a family of privilege at all. Can I just ask you, broad view, how do you see the dramatic changes in the world over your 88 years, from your childhood to now? Describe the massive change you've seen.
The thing that impresses me the most is the lack of understanding and civility among people. I was brought up in a working class family. And, my dad was a milkman. I delivered newspapers. I helped him on the truck. And it always was the lessons from my dad were, treat people honorably and with respect and compassion and understanding. Now, he didn't tell me in those words. I just had the opportunity to watch him, how he treated people. And that's how I ended up treating people the way I do. Mm-hmm. And it was just a lesson from my parents and the way I was brought up.
Do you feel like, what differences do you see in the country, right? Because it seems like if you were born in 36, then you were graduating high school, around 1954? And we were less populated. We were less overwhelmed, I think, with the number of bodies when we tried to travel and we got on roads. But we were finding each other back then. We had the bowling leagues and we had, parades, and we had like a shared patriotism. I feel like that's all changed so much.
Big changes that I've seen in my lifetime are the breakdown of the family unit. The basic unit of society is the family unit. And that's what youngsters see. That's the first impression that they have when they're born and they're brought into this world. And I think, unfortunately, that the family unit, the substance of the family unit, has broken down over the years. And I think that's a shame.
How important is that? Like family dinners and time together and, an intact mother and father unit in the home?
You cannot import the importance of that enough. Just the family unit being together, the togetherness, the love of each other, being together for all major events and enjoying them together is just something that I think is lacking in the world today. And
How many cousins did you have growing up? It was a big number, right? Cousins?
Oh, my cousins numbered over 30. Over 30.
Wow.
My father was one of 10. My mother was one of 8.
Wow.
So,
all Providence, the whole life?
All in New England, right? Rhode Island.
Lucky you. So your dad did the right thing because he wound up showing you what it was like to be a milkman and what it was like to make a living, doing honest work, though not work that will make you rich. So how did you use that when you got on the bench as a judge?
It's interesting you asked that question because the very first day on the bench, a woman came in, and the fact of the matter was she was arrogant, and she had 3 kids. And that was my first day on the bench. And I asked my dad if he would come to the court to view my proceedings, and he came. So here I am. I'm a judge now. I got the robe. I'm in the court. My father's watching me. So I'm going to show my dad what a great judge I can be. So this woman came in, and she had 4 parking tickets, and she was a little rude. And she said, I just don't have the money. I have 3 kids, and I don't have the money, and I'm not paying them. It's my first day on the bench. I'm here. My dad's in the courtroom. I'm going to now make my mark. I'm not going to take any kind of guff from anybody. And so I get into a conversation with her. And finally, because she is so arrogant and rude, I fine her the full amount of money without cutting her any kind of a break. Now the court is over. And I can't wait to talk to my dad because my dad now sees me with the robe. I'm a judge, and I didn't take any guff, And I said, Dad, how did I do? And he looked at me. He said, how did you do? He said, that woman, how could you do that? I said, what woman are you talking about? He said, the woman that you find her the full charge. I said, Dad, she was arrogant. She was rude. He said, you don't understand. He said, she was scared. And she didn't have any money. And now she may not be able to feed her children tonight. She may not be able to pay the rent. She may not be able to pay any other bills. He says, you can't treat people like that. That's not the way you were brought up. My very first day on the bench, my very first client, my dad straightened me out. And
there was a
been
reason.
A whole different story.
Right, there was a reason you were given that case in front of your dad while he was there to remind you, right, of that other piece of having power, right? Knowing when to exercise it and knowing when benevolence is a better way. This is a picture of you on the bench, 38 years on the bench in this role.
Yes,
what's the number one case
years.
you remember? Like, is that the one that you remember because it was your first, or was there another one that taught you something?
I remember several, but the one that I remember the most is a gentleman who came in. He was 96 when he came in. He was driving his son to get treatment. And we actually bonded with him and invited him to our house. And, it was a very wonderful experience.
Wow. I mean, this is like, you don't hear about stories like this with a judge inviting a litigant in front of them, a constituent to come over for dinner. But you know what? That's Italian too. They always want to feed you. When you're Italian, that's not that unusual. I know you say in the book, a person's worth is defined from learning from mistakes, not from the mistakes themselves. Can you talk about that?
So I'm sorry, I didn't hear the beginning of that.
In the book, you write about how a person's worth is defined from learning from their mistakes. Not the mistakes themselves, but from taking some time to learn from the mistakes. I mean, can be easier said than done, but what do you mean by that?
Well, we don't learn by our victories. Sometimes we get consumed by them and we feel that we have this power that we really don't have. But understanding people's everyday problems. I had the privilege of working with my dad on a milk truck, when I was 12 years old, and delivering newspapers in a working class neighborhood where people really didn't have any money. And many of them couldn't even afford to pay for the newspaper. And the question that I had to resolve was, what did I do? Did I stop delivery or not? And the lessons that I took were the lessons that I learned from my dad, right? And it wasn't that he sat me down and said, listen, you treat somebody this way or that way. It's the way he treated people every single day. And it was those experiences that formed my thought process.
Did it ever make it hard for you to issue a harsh punishment against someone in front of you because you are so nice and you view people through such a sympathetic lens?
It did. As a matter of fact, sometimes that they challenged you. I actually had a woman come in, and she challenged me. I can't afford to pay it, and I'm not paying it. So I said, what do I do in this situation? So anyway, we worked it out.
Did she come over to your house?
No, she never got an invitation.
Not everybody does. Listen, I think it's great that you wrote this book, Judge. I mean, I love when people who have a lot of wisdom to give actually put it in writing. And I know that you've been diagnosed with pancreatic cancer. So it must have been important to you to write down these stories and these thoughts. I hope you have big plans for the coming months involving your family and everyone who loves you.
I thought that I would share my early life's experiences that would help other people who are in the same situation. My dad was one of 10. My mother was one of 8. With all my cousins and aunts and uncles, we were a very close-knit family. And when I was diagnosed with pancreatic cancer, it was a very traumatic time in my life, not only in my life, but in the life of my family on both sides. And I tried to conduct myself in a way that would reflect great credit upon my family and upon how we treat things.
I'm sure they love you very much. Since President Trump was sworn in, his administration has made enormous progress at a breakneck pace. But don't forget, while they are moving mountains for the good of the nation, you've got your personal savings to worry about. And one of the best ways to look after your savings is through diversification, particularly with gold, like from Birch Gold Group. In the past 12 months, the value of gold has increased by 40%. And Birch was an advertiser on this show 12 months ago. If you had purchased then, you'd be 40% richer today. Now's the time. Central banks continue to bolster demand for gold by burying in record quantities. Global instability and tension is high, and Birch Gold makes owning physical gold so easy. Easily convert an existing IRA or 401k into a tax-sheltered IRA in physical gold, or buy some to store in your home safe. Just text MK to the number 989898, and Birch Gold is going to send you a free info kit on gold. Look into it, see if it's right for you. There's no obligation, just useful information to help you make a decision. With an A+ rating, with a Better Business Bureau, and tens of thousands of happy customers, take control of your savings today. Text MK to 989898. Thanks so much for watching. If you like what you just saw, hit the subscribe button for more clips and full episodes. That was so funny. It's part of, hello, again, this is Andrew Schultz with me today. This is the latest Netflix special. It's out now. It's called Life, and it's so well worth your time. Maybe don't watch it with like your 8-year-old, but a teenager, absolutely love it. And I was saying, like, I watched the whole time where I'm like, oh my God, I'm dying. I'm crying. I hope nobody knows what I'm watching. I hope they can't hear what I'm laughing
There's
at.
some adult content in there for sure, but it's all in.
But here this is a personal story. This whole thing is about your journey with Emma in trying to conceive a baby.
Yeah.
And no detail is spared.
Yeah.
But so it's very personal. It was unusually personal for you.
Yeah.
Did you run it by her first?
So the thing was, at first, like, you know, this is the most like male thing, like, but it's I assumed that the reason why we couldn't is because it was her fault, right? And I talk about it in the special where I'm like, she was really concerned it was her fault, and I was really concerned it was her fault. Like, we were all really concerned.
It's obviously her fault.
Yeah, because like men, we have this like confidence in our sperm that like there's no real reason why, but we just know, right? Like every time I've ever had sex with a girl, I was like, oh my God, this is gonna be crazy. Like, what should we do? How do we, calling the next month? I know she's pregnant, guaranteed. Which I now know is a waste. And once we found out that her ovaries were perfect and my sperm was horrible, it actually made it a lot easier for me to talk about.
Really?
Yeah, because I think the reason why, like, anybody who has fertility issues, one, it's very isolating because you're so protective of the person that you love that you don't. A lot of women feel a lot of shame around this.
Yep, true.
And at first, I felt like real shame. I was like, does God not want me to have a child? Like, I was like, I didn't understand it. Like, I think I'm like a pretty good person and I'm kind to people. And I'm like, why is this happening? Like, what the fuck is going on?
Mm-hmm.
And so I get that. And a lot of women, if they are struggling, they're just like, they feel like it's I don't feel very stigmatized, right? And but once she was perfect and I was fucked up, I could get on stage, and it was really cathartic to talk about it. And then once I started talking about it, I literally thought that I was like, this was like a 1 in like 10 million thing.
Oh, wow.
The second I started talking about it, all my friends start telling me that they're doing IVF.
Oh, wow.
And like all these people in the audience would hit me up afterwards. They'd be like, oh yeah, same thing happened. And I was like, what the fuck? Is this like the last taboo subject?
How did anybody ever get pregnant before IVF? Because everybody's doing it.
Dude, it is like, it's unbelievable. It's almost like, I was like, does anybody really get abortion? Like, I mean, it's so hard to get pregnant. Why is this an issue? Like, how often do these athletes have unprotected sex that they have 20 kids? Like, I couldn't believe it. It was unfathomable. So, but then it became like, there, as brutal as it was, there was these kind of funny moments. That being one of them. Just that the humility.
Going into the room with the lady. Oh, we just talked to the audience. Doug came in to say hi to Andrew in the commercial break. And we were bonding over our shared experience because he and I did IVF with our kids too. And Doug joked that after he had to donate the sample.
Yeah.
First, he said he was going to wear like a red crushed velvet smoking jacket on his way in, and on the way out, he was just going to be like, "That was fantastic! I was amazing."
Yeah, I was always thinking about like, do I make noises in there? Like, how uncomfortable do I make it for the other guys at the clinic? Like, just screaming random things. Like,
yes,
Sesame Street, just something crazy. But yeah, it's like. Oh, it was crazy.
It was like a walk of shame when you're walking by all the other guys there. Everybody's there. Oh, God, I know what you're about to do.
It's so humbling.
Yes.
Like, you're just sitting in this room, like all of you are in there. You're like,
so why did they make you go in to give the sperm sample? Couldn't they?
So I did it from home once.
Okay.
The whole, I haven't even put like a lot of the stuff in it, but like the whole journey was brutal. So the first one I did from home, which was like, I'm in the room. My wife like hands me the thing, like it's like homework. And she's like, okay, I'll give you 30 minutes. You go do your thing. I'm going to go outside or I'm going to do the dishes. So like I hear her doing the dishes in the background where I'm like being mandated to masturbate. And I'm like on our bed. Like, I don't think I've ever masturbated on a bed. Like, I'm just on our bed, and the bed is made perfectly. Like, everything is, like, set up. And I remember at one point, like, I'm just like, I don't know, this is, like, so weird. And I, like, looked up, and the TV was off, so it was just a black screen. So it's a perfect mirror of me.
Oh, no.
And I was just like, this is the saddest day of my life. I'm sitting Indian style on my bed trying to make a sample to go in this cup. We send that sample in. It comes back. And it's like, it's not good. Oh. And they're like, not only are they not swimming, they're like shaped weird. And I was like a little defensive. So I was like, well, could that be from like the speed that they hit the cup? Like, maybe, the blunt force trauma kind of warped them a little.
The flow is just too strong.
It was too strong. That's what it is. And they're like, no, that's definitely not it. And I was like, okay. And they go, well, why don't you do this for like a couple months? Wear baggy underwear, ice your balls every single day.
Oh, ice them.
Yeah.
Whoa.
Yeah. I guess that's a big thing. Don't drink anymore. Don't smoke anymore. And take these pills. And then we'll try it again in like a month or two. And I did that, and we tried it again, and it got worse.
No. What?
And I was like, why do you think that is? And the doctor's like, we've never seen this before.
There's some pride in that. Yeah. It's got to be a little bit.
I'm setting records.
I told a story one time when Dave Rubin was on, but Doug had the funniest experience there where they make you ejaculate like 24 hours before the real sample that's going to be like your future kid.
Yeah.
They want you to clean the house.
Yes.
It's like, I can't remember if it's 24 or 48 hours.
I think it's 48 hours before. Yeah.
Okay. So, but they want it to be 48.
Yes.
And they don't really want it to be 46 or 44.
Because you need the amount of time to build up the new batch.
Yes. So like timing does matter. It just so happened that on one of ours, we were visiting my Nana, who was literally like 90 at the time. And we were playing dominoes. And I was like, oh, Doug, it's time. And he was like, what? I'm like, you got to go in there right now. My poor husband. And it was like one of these older person's homes where like there's 5 inches between the bottom of the door and the ground. You can hear every piece of conversation and the dominoes, like, you're palming the double 5, and Doug's sitting there behind the door. It's horrible, poor Doug.
This is the thing about this.
Do what you got to do.
The journey is brutal when you're in it. It's the hardest thing that you'll go through in your life. Sorry, it's definitely the hardest thing we went through. And, but after the fact, it is hysterical.
Yes.
Like,
you can't believe what you've been through.
Yeah. And like, there are so many of these things that are so funny. And the beautiful thing about having a child is you get this like amnesia for what you went through to get there. And I think that's actually kind of like built into our DNA so that we keep making them.
I totally agree. Same women have been saying that for eons because of the pain of labor.
Yep.
And it's so, devastating, and then you forget all about it. I never had labor because I had 3 C-sections, but my friends tell me it's extremely painful.
Oh, Emma was in there for 24 hours, and then she had the C-section because the baby's heart rate dropped.
Oh God, that's scary.
Yeah, the whole thing is terrible. When you were doing the shots before to prepare for the IVF, like, did you have any fun mood swings or anything?
Oh yeah, I was actually fine. I did not have weird mood swings, but it was very funny because Doug does not like his mom got this terrible cut in her leg, and it was so brutal. And Doug was right there. He bandaged it up. He put the medicine on. I was like, like I can't take that kind of injury. But you pull out a needle, and Doug is one of those like,
so he couldn't do the shots for you.
But he had to in the beginning. As it turned out, he didn't have to, but we thought he did.
Yeah.
Because in the beginning, they really make it up into a thing. Like, you got to mix the compound, and then it's like kind of back in a hard spot to reach. You got to ice the area. We're like, oh my God, like our future family depends on this. And Doug was in a hot, like a cold sweat. And the superintendent of our building at the time, his name was Lance. And they were like, it's very important that your wife have a partner that helps with it. And Doug is like, this is going to be very hard for Lance. But he did it.
Good
he did it. He got it through. But honestly, by the 3rd child, Doug was no part of it. I was like, I need no ice. I'm good. Boom, we're done. Off to the races.
It is crazy that they make you mix it at home. So anybody who's not familiar, they give you these 2, I guess, hormonal compounds, and you have to put them together in the syringe.
In just the right proportions.
I'm like, why isn't this done at the lab? And then we just hit it. Like, you don't have to make the Kit Kat, right? Like, make the bar and then send it to me. Right. And I remember like watching my wife do these things, making sure it's the right amount. You got to push a little out so no air gets in there.
Right. So you don't give yourself an air bubble, like life or death.
Literally. And
That's
she's
scary.
like, did I push too much out? Will I not get it? Is this... But there was fun. I mean, Emma would get like, it would really get her going.
Did she get angry or just overly emotional?
Oh, angry. But we didn't know that was the cause.
Oh.
So like, I remember we got into it at a Japanese restaurant. You don't realize how quiet those restaurants are until you're having like a loud blow up with like, and the only thing interrupting the blow up, because everybody is already quiet at a Japanese restaurant. And then once you have like a verbal altercation, They're really quiet.
Oh, I love when somebody has a fight and I'm nearby.
Oh my God.
Doug and I, like, he'll start talking. I'll be like, be quiet. This is too important to me.
We gotta lock in. Everybody was locked in. They're just slurping udon and watching us. And the only thing that would interrupt it is like when a new person would walk in and the whole restaurant has to go, Hasimashe, or whatever. And then Emma would feel like they were interrupting our argument. So we're fighting. Hasimasen. Emma goes, "Are you kidding me?" And then back to yelling at me. It's just amazing.
Well, you weren't that guy who was like, she's going through a lot. These are just her emotions. I'm gonna let everything slide. I'm not gonna get mad about anything.
We didn't know that it was the case. So we didn't know until literally that night. I go, "Hey, did we do the shot? We did the shot today, right?" And she goes, "Oh shit." And we're walking down. We were on Kenmare Street.
That's when you put it together that she's hormonal.
And then she was also like, "Oh fuck, I guess I'm like really reactive to this." And then from then on, we stopped going to Cap.
You don't go out and buy a life jacket when the boat is sinking, and you don't buy gold when the economy has already collapsed. Clearly, others are heeding this advice as gold hit all-time highs already this year. It's not too late for you, too. And you could have Birch Gold help you diversify into physical gold. Birch Gold specializes in helping you convert an existing IRA or 401k in whole or in part into a tax-sheltered IRA in physical gold, and for no money out of pocket. One recent 5-star review said Birch Gold was, quote, knowledgeable, helpful, non-pressure. Get your free info kit on gold by texting the letters MK to the number 989898. There is no obligation, just useful information. With an A+ rating from the Better Business Bureau and countless 5-star reviews, text MK to 989898 and let the experts at Birch Gold help you secure your future today with gold. Thanks so much for watching. If you like what you just saw, hit the subscribe button for more clips and full episodes. Hey everyone, I'm Megyn Kelly, and welcome to the Megyn Kelly Show's bonus episode today, featuring some of our most interesting interviews of 2025, of the ones that took place in person. They range from comedians like Andrew Schultz, my God, he's hysterical, and Tim Dillon, same, here in studio with me, to Caroline Levitt and Marco Rubio in Washington, D.C. Zachary Levi and I sat down together, as did Dave Portnoy, and yours truly, in the SiriusXM headquarters in New York City. That was fun and great. It was very interesting. Zachary Levi, he's a big Hollywood star. He had a team. Dave Portnoy showed up with no one. That I always love seeing like how they show up, how they come to the venue. They were both interesting. Zachary's all heart, Portnoy's all brawn and brains. Enjoy and see what you think. We'll see you soon. Don't miss a moment. Subscribe to this show on YouTube and follow me on Insta, Facebook, and X. More and more Americans are prioritizing their health and getting back in shape. But diet and cardio alone are not enough. If you really want to build muscle and burn fat, you must do strength training. Introducing Jacked Up Fitness. Their all-in-one home gyms are already best in class, and their all-new X Series elevates home fitness to a whole new level. The Power Rack Pro X functional trainer lets you do hundreds of exercises, basically everything you used to do at the gym, all from the comfort of your own spare room or garage. And if you are new to strength training, they offer a free Get Jacked Up program that is full body video workouts. Simply press play and follow along. So no more excuses, right? Go to getjackedup.com and sign up for their free training program. And when you're ready to purchase your own Power Rack Pro X, use our promo code MK to save 10% at checkout. That's getjackedup.com. This whole thing is about your journey with Emma in trying to conceive a baby. Yeah. And no detail is spared.
Yeah.
But so it was very personal. It was unusually personal for you.
Yeah.
Did you run it by her first?
So the thing was, at first, like, this is the most like male thing, like, but it's just, I assumed that the reason why we couldn't is because it was her fault, right? And I talk about it in the special where I'm like, she was really concerned it was her fault, and I was really concerned it was her fault. Like, we were all really concerned.
It's obviously her fault.
Yeah, because like men, we have this like confidence in our sperm that like there's no real reason why, but we just know, right? Like every time I've ever had sex with a girl, I was like, oh my God, this is gonna be crazy. Like what should we do? How do we, calling the next month? I know she's pregnant, guaranteed. Which I now know is a waste. And once we found out that her ovaries were perfect and my sperm was horrible, it actually made it a lot easier for me to talk about.
Really?
Yeah, because I think the reason why, like, anybody who has fertility issues, one, it's very isolating because you're so protective of the person that you love that you don't. A lot of women feel a lot of shame around this.
Yep, true.
And at first, I felt like real shame. I was like, does God not want me to have a child? Like, I was like, I didn't understand it. Like, I think I'm like a pretty good person and I'm kind to people. And I'm like, why is this happening? Like, what the fuck is going on? And yeah, so I get that. And a lot of women, if they are struggling, they're just like, they feel like it's I don't feel very stigmatized, right? And but once she was perfect and I was fucked up, I could get on stage and it was really cathartic to talk about it. And then once I started talking about it, I literally thought that I was like, this was like a 1 in like 10 million thing.
Oh, wow.
The second I started talking about it, all my friends start telling me that they're doing IVF.
Oh, wow.
And like all these people in the audience would hit me up afterwards. They'd be like, oh yeah, same thing happened. And I was like, what the fuck? Is this like the last taboo subject?
How did anybody ever get pregnant before IVF? Because everybody's doing it.
Dude, it is like, it's unbelievable. It's almost like, I was like, does anybody really get abortion? Like, I mean, it's so hard to get pregnant. Why is this an issue? Like, how often do these athletes have unprotected sex that they have 20 kids? I couldn't believe it. It was unfathomable. So, but then it became like, there, as brutal as it was, there was these kind of funny moments. That being one of them. Just that the humility.
Going into the room with the lady. Oh, we just talked to the audience. Doug came in to say hi to Andrew in the commercial break. And we were bonding over our shared experience because he and I did IVF with our kids too. And Doug joked that after he had to donate the sample. First, he said he was going to wear like a red crushed velvet smoking jacket on his way in, and on the way out, he was just going to be like, "That was fantastic. I was amazing."
Yeah, I was always thinking about like, do I make noises in there? Like, how uncomfortable do I make it for the other guys at the clinic? Like, just screaming random things.
Yes,
like, Sesame Street, just something crazy. But yeah, it's like. Oh, it was crazy.
It was like a walk of shame when you're walking by all the other guys there. Everybody's there. Oh, God, I know what you're about to do.
It's so humbling.
Yes.
Like, you're just sitting in this room, like all of you are in there. You're like,
so why did they make you go in to give the sperm sample? Couldn't they?
So I did it from home once.
Okay.
The whole, I haven't even put like a lot of the stuff in it, but like the whole journey was brutal. So the first one I did from home, which was like, I'm in the room. My wife like hands me the thing like it's like homework. And she's like, okay, I'll give you 30 minutes. You go do your thing. I'm going to go outside or I'm going to do the dishes. So like I hear her doing the dishes in the background where I'm like being mandated to masturbate. And I'm like on our bed. Like, I don't think I've ever masturbated on a bed. Like, I'm just on our bed, and the bed is made perfectly. Like, everything is, like, set up. And I remember at one point, like, I'm just like, I don't know, this is, like, so weird. And I, like, looked up, and the TV was off, so it was just a black screen. So it's a perfect mirror of me.
Oh, no.
And I was just like, this is the saddest day of my life. I'm sitting Indian style on my bed trying to make a sample to go in this cup. We send that sample in. It comes back. And it's like, it's not good. Oh. And they're like, not only are they not swimming, they're like shaped weird. And I was like a little defensive. So I was like, well, could that be from like the speed that they hit the cup? Like maybe, you know, the blunt force trauma kind of warped them a little.
The flow is just too strong.
It was too strong. That's what it is. And they're like, no, that's definitely not it. And I was like, okay. And they go, well, why don't you do this for like a couple months? Wear baggy underwear, ice your balls every single day.
Oh, ice them.
Yeah.
Whoa.
Yeah. I guess that's a big thing. Don't drink anymore. Don't smoke anymore. And take these pills. And then we'll try it again in like a month or two. And I did that, and we tried it again, and it got worse.
No. What?
And I was like, why do you think that is? And the doctor's like, we've never seen this before.
There's some pride in that. Yeah. It's got to be a little bit.
I'm setting records.
I told a story one time when Dave Rubin was on, but Doug had the funniest experience there where they make you ejaculate.
Yeah.
Like 24 hours before the real sample that's going to be like your future kid.
Yeah.
They want you to clean the house.
Yes.
It's like, I can't remember if it's 24 or 48 hours.
I think it's 48 hours before. Yeah.
Okay. So, but they want it to be 48.
Yes.
And they don't really want it to be 46 or 44.
Because you need the amount of time to build up the new batch.
Yes. So like timing does matter. It just so happened that on one of ours, we were visiting my Nana, who was literally like 90 at the time. And we were playing dominoes. And I was like, oh, Doug, it's time. He was like, what? I'm like, you got to go in there right now. my poor husband. And you know, it's like one of these older person's homes where like there's 5 inches between the bottom of the door and the ground. He can hear every piece of conversation. And the dominoes, like, you're palming the 5, you know, and Doug's sitting there behind the door. It's horrible, poor Doug.
This is the thing about this.
Do what you got to do.
The journey is brutal when you're in it. It is the hardest thing that you'll go through in your life. Sorry, it's definitely the hardest thing we went through. And but after the fact, it is hysterical.
Yes.
Like,
you can't believe what you've been through.
Yeah, and like there are so many of these things that are so funny. And the beautiful thing about having a child is you get this like amnesia for what you went through to get there. And I think that's actually kind of like built into our DNA so that we keep making them.
I totally agree.
You know, like
same women have been saying that for eons because of the pain of labor. And it's so, you know, devastating, and then you forget all about it. I never had labor because I had 3 C-sections, but my friends tell me it's extremely painful.
Oh, Emma was in there for 24 hours, and then she had the C-section because the baby's heart rate dropped.
Oh God, that's scary.
Yeah, the whole thing is terrible. When you were doing the shots before to prepare for the IVF, like, did you have any fun mood swings or anything?
Oh yeah, I was actually fine. I did not have weird mood swings, but it was very funny because Doug does not like his mom got this terrible cut in her leg, and it was so brutal. And Doug was right there. He bandaged it up. He put the medicine on. I was like, like I can't take that kind of injury. But you pull out a needle, and Doug is one of those like,
so he couldn't do the shots for you.
But he had to in the beginning. As it turned out, he didn't have to, but we thought he did.
Yeah.
Because in the beginning, they really make it up into a thing. Like, you got to mix the compound, and then it's like kind of back in a hard spot to reach. You got to ice the area. We're like, oh my God, like our future family depends on this. And Doug was in a hot, like a cold sweat. And the superintendent of our building at the time, his name was Lance. And they were like, it's very important that your wife have a partner that helps with it. And Doug is like, this is going to be very hard for Lance. But he did it. He did it. He got it through. But honestly, by the 3rd child, you know, Doug was no part of it. I was like, I need no ice. I'm good. Boom, we're done. Off to the races.
It is crazy that they make you mix it at home. So anybody who's not familiar, they give you these 2, I guess, hormonal compounds, and you have to put them together in the syringe.
In just the right proportions.
I'm like, why isn't this done at the lab? And then we just hit it. Like, you don't have to make the Kit Kat, right? Like, make the bar and then send it to me. And I remember like watching my wife do these things, making sure it's the right amount. You got to push a little out so no air gets in there.
Right. So you don't give yourself an air bubble, like life or death.
Literally. And
That's
she's
scary.
like, did I push too much out? Will I not get it? Is this... But there was fun. I mean, Emma would get like, it would really get her going.
Would she get angry or just overly emotional?
Oh, angry. Like... But we didn't know that was the cause. So like, I remember we got into it at a Japanese restaurant. You don't realize how quiet those restaurants are until you're having like a loud blow up with like, and you know, the only thing interrupting the blow up, because everybody is already quiet at a Japanese restaurant. And then once you have like a verbal altercation, they're really quiet.
Oh, I love when somebody has a fight and I'm nearby.
Oh my God.
Doug and I, like, he'll start talking. I'll be like, be quiet. This is too important to me.
We gotta lock in. Everybody was locked in. They're just slurping udon and watching us. And the only thing that would interrupt it is like when a new person would walk in and you know, the whole restaurant has to go, Hasimashe, or whatever. And then Emma would feel like they were interrupting our argument. So we're fighting. Hasimasen. Emma goes, are you kidding me? And then back to yelling at me. It's just amazing.
Well, you weren't that guy who was like, she's going through a lot. These are just her emotions. I'm gonna let everything slide. I'm not gonna get mad about anything.
We didn't know that it was the case. So we didn't know until literally that night. I go, hey, did we do the shot? We did the shot today, right? And she goes, oh shit. And we're walking down, we were on Kenmare Street.
That's when you put it together that she's hormonal.
And then she was also like, oh fuck, I guess I'm like really reactive to this. And then from then on, we stopped going to Japanese restaurants.
And then how about after she had the baby? Did she have like, because you're sleep deprived, you're very hormonal.
It's the most insane thing. Did you breastfeed?
Yeah.
Okay. I think that is the most difficult part of child rearing is the if you are breastfeeding full time, like meaning every 2 hours.
Yeah.
That is insane.
Yeah, it's a lot.
That is insane. Every 2 hours. So you're waking up. I don't think a lot of people know this. you're waking up every 2 hours in the night. You don't get more than an hour of sleep at a time.
It's truly like an astronaut training situation. Yeah. No, it's brutal. But then it lets up a little.
When it lets up, it's this beautiful bonding experience that you have with your child. And like, it's something even now, like Emma's still breastfeeding. And it's just this thing that she's like, she doesn't even want to let go of it.
Yeah. Well, then you get to like the 6-month mark where the baby can start having like smaller, like solid foods.
Yeah.
And they're still having breast milk. And you're at the point now where like you're producing the more milk than ever. And yet the baby's somewhat getting a little independent.
Yep.
And the weight comes shredding off. That's the best moment where you're like, I'm making tons of milk. All these calories are coming off for free.
Oh, because your body is burning calories.
But your baby doesn't need as much milk as from you as he needed at 5 months because now he's starting to eat food. But your body doesn't know that. So it's still burning like 800 calories a day. You're like, oh my God, I have a waist again. There's a normal ass. Thank you, sweet baby. I always say they're selling breastfeeding to moms all wrong. That you would care about the health of our babies, but we know that babies who are formula fed are fine too. You have to sell it to them like Ozempic.
You'll be skinny.
Yes.
It is natural Ozempic.
It's natural Ozempic.
Let
it's
that
good
baby
for you.
suck the fat out of you.
Here's one way to clean up your medicine cabinet this season and replace toxin-filled conventional products with more natural options. Propolis Immune Support Throat Spray and Propolis Plus Vitamin C Liposomal can be must-haves in the medicine cabinet as seasonal germs start to hit. Did you know that germs can enter through your nasal passages just as easily as through your mouth? Well, that's gross. Propolis Nasal Spray, though, is here to help you. It's a great non-toxic swap for other over-the-counter drug-filled medications. It's non-habit forming, it's natural, and it has antimicrobial benefits. Beekeepers Naturals makes clean, non-toxic products that actually work. They never use harmful ingredients like red dye number 3 or other synthetic dyes or artificial flavors. Their products are third-party tested for all pesticides, and they are dedicated to sustainable beekeeping and helping to save the bees. Beekeepers Naturals is offering you an exclusive offer. Go to beekeepersnaturals.com/Megyn or enter code Megyn to get 20% off your order. That's beekeepersnaturals.com/Megyn or enter code Megyn. Beekeepers Naturals products are also available at Target, Whole Foods, Walmart, CVS, and Walgreens.
Yes.
So there's your babe who was born in July. That's your little boy.
My little boy.
What's his name?
Nicholas, and we call him Nico.
Aww.
Yeah.
We talked about this a little backstage at the Super Bowl, but how are you handling, true new motherhood?
Yeah.
It's not even a year, and this crazy job.
Yeah, it's a lot. No denying it. He's 7 months. I had him in the midst of the presidential campaign. 3 days before the president almost lost his life in Butler, Pennsylvania. My son was born on the 10th. The president was shot on the 13th. It was my first day home with him from the hospital. And it kind of threw me right back to work much sooner than I would have probably expected or hoped. But becoming a mother in the midst of this very chaotic political world that I work in has been the best thing I could have ever imagined because it gives you great perspective and it humbles you. And my son doesn't give a crap about my job.
No.
He just wants me to come home and snuggle and play toys and be present. So it's, a difficult balance to prioritize being good at my job and being good as a mother, but I just try to prioritize my time and carve out that time when I can. And I'm so grateful to have the support system I do. A great husband who can be very present with our child, and then of course a wonderful mother and father and friends who chip in when I need them.
Your parents must be so proud of you.
I think so. I hope so.
A grandchild and access to President Trump in the same year.
My mom actually was in town this week to help with our baby because my husband had some work things to attend to, and she came to my briefing yesterday.
Oh.
She was in the room. I was like, "Are you sure you want to go in?"
She get annoyed by pesky reporters being
rude. I brought in some backup yesterday. I brought in my colleague Walt and Steven and Kevin. So a lot of the questions were for them. So I asked her after. I said, "How was it?" She was like, "Thank God all the questions weren't to you today. I would have been dying in there." So she enjoyed it very much.
That's my Nana, who died at 101. She was in her elderly years, not that able to get out and around. So if I had a important court argument that was on tape, I would show it to her, and she would get so mad at the judges. She didn't think that they should be allowed to ask me any questions. She didn't like opposing counsel.
Yeah.
Why is he saying that about you? They don't totally get it.
It's a motherly bias that we have for our babies.
All right, so you are balancing with the baby. Can I just ask you one other question on that? Because we talk about it all the time, especially on the right. And I, too, am a working mom and always have been. I've been a professional woman since I graduated from college or law school. But now there's, I think, a good thing, which is like the restoration of valuing so-called traditional, moms, and that's great. The women who take care of their kids full time, most of my best friends are doing exactly that. But it seems like in the right, there's like a bit of a shift toward like, you can't do what Caroline's doing. That's actually like an unsafe or a dangerous or a bad choice for families, for children, which I reject wholesale, but you hear it more and more.
Yeah.
Do you hear that, and what do you think of it?
I would reject that it's a bad choice. Is it a tough choice? Absolutely. As a mother, you want to be with your child 24/7. You have that maternal instinct.
27.
Yeah. Not all the time. Well, right now, yes, because he's 7 months and just squishy and lovable, but I'm sure that will change. But you do have that maternal instinct, but also recognizing like, I'm doing this work for my son and for all children to make this country better. And it's a once in a lifetime opportunity. Yes. It's also it's temporary, right? In 4 years, my son will be 4 years old and the president will no longer be at the White House. And then I'll move on and do something else. But, this chaos of 24/7 work is a temporary matter. And that's what at least I tell myself to get through these very long and hard days. But I would reject that you can't be a good mom and be good at your job. I think you can do both. It certainly it's not for everybody. And it takes a lot of work and will and faith and prayer. And it's hard, but it can be done. And, I would reject that.
We can't chase our great conservative moms out of the workforce.
Right.
Then we get rid of you. We get rid of Katie Britt. We get rid of Usha Vance.
Right.
Like this is not the way. Amy Coney Barrett is not on the Supreme. Like that should not be the place the conservative movement lands.
I agree.
All right. So now you start as White House press secretary, and were you thrilled to get that invitation?
Of course, yes. I was very humbled and honored, and I was campaigning, with the president over the past year through the court trials. We sat in that courthouse in Manhattan with the Bragg trial, so many rallies, and we worked so damn hard to win that election.
You must have really wrestled with how you were going to meet the high bar set by Karine Jean-Pierre. Was that? Sorry. Was that out loud? No, she was terrible.
Yeah.
I mean, come on.
Yeah.
So how has your approach differed, would you say?
I think it's vastly different. And if you ask people, even in the legacy media, even the Trump haters, they will tell you the approach has been much different. Not just for me, but the entire White House. Oh, absolutely. They come in my office every day and they'll admit that off the record. Oh. Maybe not on the record, but they will say they appreciate the access and the transparency and the preparation that goes into my briefings, and everybody on our team, by the way, who goes out to the cameras and speaks. We have great policy experts who are great spokespeople for the president, and they appreciate the information that they're being given. They're also exhausted, by the way, because we are doing so much.
And not even in a wussy, sad little way. Like, they must be exhausted because it's just nonstop.
It's insane, yes.
So who's your least favorite?
Well, I did have a bit of a tiff this morning outside with our friend Peter Alexander at NBC News. So
it was great. We'll drop in a clip of it where he was really pressing you on whether there's going to be criminal prosecutions for this alleged fraud and the waste, fraud, and abuse.
According to an IG report from the Social Security Administration, there was $71 billion worth of fraud in one single fiscal year that we know about. And so that is a lot of fraud, Peter.
To be clear, that $71 billion was from 2015 to 2022, so it wasn't in just 1 year. And it was
$71 billion.
But it wasn't in 1 year, just over multiple years, from 2015 to 2022.
So are you defending $71 billion in fraud, Peter? That's a lot of money. Why is the media so against cutting waste, fraud, and abuse from the government? I don't get it.
I just want to ask a question.
We won't be deterred. We will not be deterred from people like you and the press.
You said something that wasn't true, which is you said that they have found before that they believe there have been tens of millions of people who are receiving money who are dead on the Social Security list. The same report that you referred to said that almost none of those individuals are receiving
Peter, did you watch the full clip of the interview that I did when I said that? And I said there are a lot of unanswered questions, and we suspect there could be tens of millions of people.
I'm saying the IG report
so you just said what I said is not true. In fact, it was true. That's a suspicion that this administration has, and we're committed to finding out the truth. It perplexes me and also infuriates me why the media continues to make excuses for our government spending billions and billions of dollars in wasteful money.
Right.
Maybe they don't mind, but I know there's millions of people watching that do mind. So we're going to keep doing what we're doing with Doge.
It was a pretty incredible exchange where it was like 71 billion has been spent on fraudulent payments, and he's like, "Oh, but that was over many years." Well,
does it matter?
Like, hello.
There's one report that showed $71 billion. What are you talking about?
Eyes on the ball.
Yeah, exactly.
All right, so that's good. I'm glad to hear the NBC guys out. Good choice.
Sorry, Peter.
How do you prepare? Because you can't know everything, and you could get asked anything. And unlike Karine Jean-Pierre, you're not out there reading and furiously flipping through your tabs to try to find an answer somebody else has written for you. So how are you preparing?
So I did prepare a binder for the first briefing. My great assistant, Keegan, put it together. And then I showed up to work, and it was like this thick. And I was like, I can't even move this. I can't use this. It was too cumbersome for my brain and the way I learn and think and study to have that. It felt like added weight. And I said, I want to just go in there and speak from my mind and from my heart.
Like your boss.
Like my boss. And I've been working for my boss now on the campaign. I know the policies we're enacting. We've been talking about them for years. And in school, I was that way. Like studying, I would just read, highlight, memorize, articulate.
And then it goes off to the side.
Yeah.
And you talk.
Exactly. And so that's been my method of preparation.
No nerves?
The first briefing, I was certainly nervous. I think any human would, and I'm not afraid to admit that.
But it must have been cool, too, to get up there.
It was. Once I got up there, I realized, okay, I can do this.
I can do this.
I know what I need to know. And now I feel very, comfortable and confident, and I will never get complacent because I understand the weight of the responsibility on my shoulders speaking on behalf of the President of the United States. So I remain as prepared today as I was on that first day, and I hope that's true 4 years from now. And we have amazing people in that building who are so smart and know everything about every topic, and I rely on them. I call Stephen Miller or Mike Waltz's team or Kevin Hassett all the time, and I'm like, please explain this to me because I don't understand, but you do. So what's going on?
What's the most interesting or surprising thing you've seen at the White House? This isn't a building you spent a ton of time in before.
No. The people you see every day, especially with President Trump and his calendar of meetings, walking through the West Wing lobby, you can see anybody from Tim Cook to Tiger Woods, as I saw yesterday. So, when you see
it's not as exciting as Joe Biden's White House with the cocaine, but it's good.
Exactly.
It's good. It's
and
something.
Hunter hanging around.
Let me tell you about Financial Yield Solutions, Inc., known as FYSI. If you are handling your own books or you have a bookkeeper, you risk inaccuracies, missed deductions, and blind spots in cash flow. FYSI's team of seasoned accounting professionals, corporate and tax attorneys handle every journal entry, bank reconciliation, and month-end close with unmatched precision, delivering clear and timely financial reports that keep you in control. They weave advanced tax avoidance strategies into your bookkeeping so you capture every deduction before you file and plug you into their network of industry leaders and referral partners for real-world growth opportunities. Set up your free consultation to learn how FYSI's experts will transform your books into a growth engine and accelerate your business to the next level. Act now to claim your free $5,000 business assessment, available only for a limited time. Go to FYSI.com/Megyn, use the promo code Megyn, or just call 800-877-4000 today. He did take over at the National Institutes of Health at HHS this week, and he made a comment which he's made before, but it doesn't get old, on how meaningful it was for him and how important Trump has been really in changing Bobby Kennedy's life. Listen.
Yeah. For 20 years, I've gotten up every morning on my knees and prayed that God would put me in a position where I can end the childhood chronic disease epidemic in this country. On August 23rd of last year, God sent me President Trump, and he gave me, Mr. President, a lot of people told me that I couldn't trust President Trump, that I better get it in writing. And we did a handshake, and everything that he told me he was going to do, he has done. And I'm so grateful to him, and I've told you before, I genuinely believe that you are a pivotal historical figure, and you are going to transform this country.
Yeah.
What a moment.
Yeah. Oh, man. I watched it multiple times. And I've heard him talk about that before, about, you know, him being in prayer and petition for 20 years. I mean, I can feel it. I cried when I was filming in Eastern Europe, Eurasia, when the election was happening. Like, I think I even was, when I was talking to you, I was over there October. Or something like that. And so we were up, you know, hours before the U.S. was up. And so I was seeing the results, the poll results and stuff like that. And I was just like, wow, I can't believe it. This is actually happening. Like they were able to keep all of the potential, you know, things at polls and ballot boxes and everything, like legit.
And then getting Bobby across the line was no easy feat.
And that's what I was saying to the other day, to finally, because that was one step. And then it's like, okay, but we still got to get Bobby, Tulsi, you know, all that. And so the other day I was on a flight home, and I'm seeing the confirmation, and I just started crying on the plane, because I really do, like, I know this man. I know him personally, and I know that he has the integrity that's and so does Tulsi, to go and be a leader that is non-corruptible. There are far too many people, even good people, but it's like you dangle that just little bit of like, I could, I mean, I'm going to do good, but I'm also going to take a little bit. And then that starts with a little bit, and then there's a little bit of compromise, and then it's a little more compromise and a little more compromise. And next thing you know, they're not doing any of the good. They're just enriching themselves with insider trading or whatever it is that they're doing. And this guy means it. He means it. And I absolutely agree with him. You know, like, I love that. Even when people saying like, oh, you better getting in writing and, you know, don't trust that guy. Trump meant it.
Yeah.
He meant it. And that should show everybody too. Like, yes, he's bullish and Trumpy and all of the things that I don't like. I get it. I also understand why people have such a hard time voting for somebody like that, because you don't want your leader to have certain egotistical aspects about him. Put all that down for just a moment and see the things that he is doing well, is doing right, man of his word. That was a hard confirmation. Both of those were hard. Like, not only did the Democrats not want it to happen, but even these rhino Republicans, Mitch McConnell, blah, get that guy out of there as soon as possible. I mean, he's just going to freeze himself out of there anyway. But, like, it happened.
Yeah.
And if that's not God at work to help heal this country and this world, I don't know what is.
And here it's like, even if you are against Trump, if you're against Bobby Kennedy, whatever you believe about him, like, listen to what he's saying he's going to do. Listen and ask yourself, wouldn't this be great? What's so bad about this? Here he is going on in soundbite 8. Take a listen.
We will convene representatives of all viewpoints to study the causes for the drastic rise in chronic disease. Some of the possible factors we will investigate were formerly taboo or insufficiently scrutinized. The childhood vaccine schedule, electromagnetic radiation, glyphosate, other pesticides, ultra-processed foods, artificial food additives, SSRI and other psychiatric drugs, PFAs, PFOAs, microplastics. Nothing is going to be off limits.
Yes.
Hallelujah.
Praise God.
Hallelujah. Yeah.
Exactly. He hit it all.
Like, isn't that what
Right on.
right on. But isn't that what someone in his position should have always been doing?
Yes.
And every one of those regulatory agencies should have always been doing.
Yes.
The FDA should have been on top of all of this instead of just taking handouts from lobbyists.
No, they're doing studies on like trans fish and COVID vaccines and how many 14th, 15th versions we need. This is exactly it. He hit all the stuff that's unhittable. Yeah. Who the hell else is talking about EMF and that glyphosate?
Glyphosate.
I can never pronounce it.
That's all right.
But they're spraying it all over our wheat, which is why it's in every box of pasta that you buy, and you don't even know it's in there. These pesticides that are all over our food. Both parties are guilty. The Republicans represent a lot of farmers too. We love our farmers, but the farmers too, I'm sure, would love to find some way of getting rid of these toxic chemicals so they don't have to swim in them all day, and they can create products that are actually healthy and good for us and taste good. No one's even talking about this other than him.
Yeah. It's a brave new world in the most positive of ways. I hope, I believe. I mean, Lord knows there's still people working in the shadows and the darkness that are trying to derail a lot of these things. So I don't think we're out of the woods just yet. There's still a lot of work to do, right?
Same as they're going to try to derail every step of Doge.
Every bit of it. But we must continue to stay in prayer and petition and believing that something really good is happening right now, and do it with empathy. Make sure that people are not being just lost in this shuffle. You know, that is my appeal, and I meant it, and for all people. But I think that these are things that have been long overdue. And we deserve it. Everyone deserves this kind of transparency. Like, light is the best disinfectant. Like, just get in there. Just look at it all. Yep. Let's have a real coming to Jesus moment. And we need to do that with all things. We need to bring the American public in on a lot of these things that have been secretive. And no, we can't tell them, like, rip the Band-Aid off.
SSRIs, talking about that openly. I mean, that has been more out there in the conversation, but it's very bold for the HHS director to say, we actually are going to be looking into these. It's just, the Americans are taking the antidepressants like they're candy, and they don't realize why they're not getting better, and then they up the dosage, and then they try a different one, and then they up the dosage there. And there's no actual public health official being really straight with them on the downsides of these drugs and how there might be alternative ways, not to rip on those drugs. They have been helpful for a lot of people, but they're not for everybody. And it's the first line of defense. My friend has a daughter in college, and she went to like the college counseling place because it can be a difficult adjustment. They try to push an SSRI on her. It's like, for the love of God, maybe just talk to her. Do talk therapy. Do cognitive behavioral therapy before we just knee-jerk give the drug.
Well, absolutely. But I think that there's even more effective ways of solving for all of this. And you really got to go to the source. You got to go to the root, right? Why are SSRIs pushed on everybody so much? It's because there's incentive programs. Why are vaccine and the vaccine schedule pushed on children so hard? Because there's incentives. Why should there be incentives for doctors to push what should just be healthy and natural and good? You shouldn't have to incentivize a doctor to encourage their patients to do something that's been tested and is safe and effective and everything. You just have a doctor say, oh, this is great. So why are you having to pay them X amount of dollars bonus to make sure if they get 95% of their pediatrician gets 95% of the people in their practice, and the children all fully vaxxed up, and then you give them hundreds of thousands of dollars in return? This is not okay. So I think that if we actually start to regulate these industries, all of that downstream pushing and stuff, that's all going to kind of start to resolve itself.
And once it gets exposed.
100%. Moreover, I think when it comes to our farming situation, listen, maybe under FDR, incentivizing farmers, getting out of the Great Depression, there was some good that they were trying to do with all of that. But all that did was led to like bad capitalism, run amok, and people in industrial farming and companies like Monsanto creating glyphosate and atrazine and all of these things that are poisoning us, which is why you can literally eat all the bread you want in Europe and you can't eat any bread in the United States.
Yeah, that's the point. We don't have to have this on our wheat. We don't have to eat our pasta and our bread like this.
But what I think, like, one of the biggest first things that they can do is, if you, instead of incentivizing farmers to do massive monocropping with industrial fertilizer, instead start incentivizing farmers. And by the way, we must, because to incentivize farmers to have regenerative organic farms.
Ron Johnson was just saying that this is a top priority for him. He's from Wisconsin. They're onto it now.
Because our soil is dead. We only have so many more cycles left because the nutrients have all been sucked out of it through all the industrial fertilizing and the tilling for monocropping. It's destroying our environment. So people that want to solve for all of these things, guys, we can help the environment and help the soil and bring down carbon in the environment. Like all of these things, if we just go back to the way we ought to be doing agriculture, and then you don't have to spray it with all the things because there's other, by the way, ways to mitigate pests and whatnot. But also, that shouldn't be in a truck going 1,500 miles to a grocery store that is not local. Grow it and sell it and eat it within a few days. That's the way it's supposed to be done when we get back to more locally sourced.
I hear we have something in common, and that is our mutual love for Meghan Markle.
Yes.
I hear you're ready to endorse her for president.
I like her now. I've come around on her because since I'm a little kid, love con artists. I think they're great. I think they're fun. They're an important part of America and the tapestry of our country. They, to me, exude a kind of effortless humor. They're very funny. And I find her to be a great con artist, one of the great cons of our time. One of the greats, you know. This is someone who came to prominence marrying into the royal family, claiming they were racist, claiming she wanted to dedicate herself to uplifting young women around the world, and is now selling jam at Target.
Yes.
That's beautiful. She moved to the richest and whitest area of our country, Montecito.
Absolutely.
And makes honey. There's nothing better than that from where she started to where she is now. And that's what I think a lot of it is. I think a lot of people that claim to be really evolved people who really want to help other people are just trying. She just wants a line of consumer goods.
Yeah.
That's all she wants.
And
give it to her.
We just looked this up. So there was a soundbite of her saying she really wanted her merch that she's selling to be prestige.
Yes.
Not prestigious. She wanted it to be prestige.
Yeah.
But at like a price point everyone can afford.
Yeah.
So we looked it up. She's got a raspberry spread under the As Ever label.
Love
raspberry spread. You can get it for $14, or you can get it at Walmart under the Smucker's label for $3.47.
Right.
Herbal lemon ginger tea. As Ever will charge you $12, or you can get it from Yogi for $4.46. Shortbread cookie mix, As Ever, will charge you $14. My Better Batch, which is high end, $7.99.
Right.
Then there's Wildflower Honey with honeycomb, As Ever, $28.
Yeah.
Amazon, $11.
Right.
And then there's Crepe Mix, which you can get from her for $14, or you can get it from New Hope Mills for $5.
Yep.
So you tell me whether this person has actually landed the plane.
Right.
On prestige, but totally affordable.
Well, what's brilliant about what she's doing is she knows people want to spend money, and spending money makes them feel like they're getting something that's better, even though it might not necessarily be true. And I think it's brilliant. You can tell when you watch the show, she thinks people we're all animals. Yeah. And that's her view. She just thinks we're all monsters and we're all just kind of pigs in the mud. And that she's helping us with jam and honey. It's also very weirdly British, isn't it?
Yeah, well, her little flower sprinkles,
isn't it
her garden.
It's kind of oddly British for somebody who went over there and realized it was just a racist, horrible place. There's a lot of jam and tea and honey.
And why is she using all the royal crown on her stationery? I thought she hated being a royal. I thought she wanted to eschew the royal life and come back to America.
Well, it seems it's just very interesting. And seeing it all happen in real time fills me with it fills me with I recognize how much this was the plan the whole time. And you got to give your hats off to her.
It's hard to enhance your brand that quickly. Get your name out there in a ubiquitous way.
No one needs honey.
No.
Right now.
No.
No one needs jam. There's not one systemic racist problem that no one needs jam. There's not one person wrongly accused of something or whatever, doesn't have money for a lawyer, that's looking for elderberries or wildflowers or whatever the hell she's talking about. The only people that are concerned with this stuff are people like, she lives in an area in Montecito that's so wealthy, they're not even on Earth anymore.
No.
And it's a beautiful area. It's a great area. But they float around and they have tea and they pick flowers.
Yeah.
They live in a fairy tale.
She makes sun tea, Tim.
Yeah,
she makes sun tea.
And,
like we all have time to do.
Yeah, they kind of sit around in their backyards and they enjoy this and they smell lavender and stuff like that.
Yeah.
And
That's not how you're living in LA right now?
It's not how we're living. No, we're sitting by our doors with guns.
Like normal people.
Yeah, we're sitting by the door with a gun waiting for someone to come in. That's how we're living. And
check the sun tea.
Yeah. No one's making if you have honey in your house, you're using it as a weapon.
You don't have a local beekeeper?
No, there's no local beekeeper. There's no gardens. They've all burned.
Job. Yes.
Yeah.
Well, I have a treat for you because in addition to her new Netflix show, she has launched yet another podcast.
Thank God.
This one is about
Thank God.
Yes, this one is about founders. How does she style
it? Is it all female founders?
Yes.
Please,
I think it's all female founders.
Is it female founders? Female founders, right?
Confessions of a female founder.
Thank God. What are they thinking about, these female founders?
Oh, here you go.
What are they doing?
She starts with herself because she now considers herself a founder.
And it's hard to find. When you are married to a prince, how do you start a business? That's a real question because the struggle she had to go through being married to a prince and being one of the most famous people in the world. How do you start a business when you're rich and famous?
Your castle's too small.
It's hard.
Your grandmother, your spouse's grandmother doesn't seem to really like you and then dies.
Yeah.
I mean, like your one greatest connection is now out.
Thank God, because I want to know how this all happened, and I want to get into the mind of the female founder.
Here we go. Here's this founder discussing, I think.
Remember when she pretended to like poor people? That lasted a few weeks.
I don't. Sex workers, I remember that with her inspo messages on the bananas.
Right.
Here she is on her new podcast.
Let's be honest. Launching a business, it can be so overwhelming. Even with the best of teams, it'll keep you up at night. For example, a month ago, I was absolutely consumed with packaging. Boxes. That's all I could think about. And I would sit there doing the unboxing in my head. Is there tissue paper? What about the packing peanuts? But they're biodegradable. And where does the sticker go? And hold on, and what size the box is going to be? And no, that's not going to fit all the SKUs. Oh my gosh. And then someone says, but you don't want to brand the outside of the box because of porch pirates. Had never heard that before. What's a porch pirate? And then I'm sitting there and I'm like, does any of this actually matter? Of course it matters. It matters at the beginning, but how much does it matter?
Oh my God.
Yeah, I mean, it's, well, she's also, she's kept up at night because she's, half the staff quit.
That's right.
They quit.
On any given day, she's got half staff.
On any given day, the staff will quit because she just, launches into a tirade, and for whatever reason, they feel unsafe.
She's been accused multiple times of being a bullying abuser.
Well, she's throwing honey at people's heads and stuff. So she's kept up at night wondering about what lawsuits will trickle in because of the abusive behavior towards the staff.
You're like, didn't that soundbite just hit so many of the leftist boxes? Like, are they biodegradable?
Yes.
And what does the packaging look like?
Well, what I like about her, I've gone the other way now because now that she's coming out as a monster, I'm actually on board now because I'm into it because now, by the way, there's no longer even an attempt. It's such a thinly veiled attempt to be this conscientious person who, she's really just saying like, I'm a founder.
Yeah.
I'm a founder and I'm a big business tycoon, and it's tough for me.
Can I tell you, she's not the only extremely rich woman who, in her case, it's questionable, but in a lot of these other women's cases, their husbands are multimillionaires or billionaires.
Yes.
And then the women open a charity or give their money to somebody. And then they're like, I'm an entrepreneur. I'm an entrepreneur. It's like, okay.
I'm a founder.
Look, I appreciate
I've
that you
connected
gave
people with jam.
Right? I see that your husband made billions of dollars.
Right.
But the fact that you spent some of it doesn't make you a founder.
Well, it's also she never cared. It was all about, in the beginning, it was all about unwinding the systems of oppression.
Yeah.
Remember that?
That's done, didn't you know?
Remember that?
She solved that.
Remember that? It was like she would go to a third world country and there'd be a bunch of kids dancing and she'd take a photo with them. Now it seems much more about like she's looking at like Gwyneth Paltrow, what Gwyneth Paltrow did with her store.
Yes.
Goop or whatever it's called. I think it's Goop.
Goop.
Yeah, and I think she's looking at that and going, that's what she wants to be. She wants to be Martha Stewart.
Yeah. Although what I found out after the fact was she launched her show with showing you how to make this one recipe. It's like one pot pasta. You make it on the stove. And then everybody flooded Twitter with the fact that apparently is a Martha Stewart recipe.
Sure.
That's apparently very well known in Martha Stewart land.
Yeah.
So even the inaugural episode is cheating off of somebody else's
Well, I mean, you
recipes.
got to hand it to her. She knows that we don't have a memory.
Yes,
the country doesn't have a memory. We have a fatally short memory, and we're kind of tolerant of however people want to reintroduce themselves in the moment.
Yes.
So she understands America.
I didn't know.
Better than I do, or maybe you do, because she gets it. We love the huckster. We root for the huckster.
Yes.
We root for kind of the criminal sometimes. And she's kind of assuming that role of going, this is who I am today.
We got to talk about Bill Belichick.
You ripped him.
Okay, I mean, I thought it was elder abuse. Honestly, what I saw there was Dr. Jill. I had Dr. Jill vibes. This overly aggressive younger partner who's in this, like, apparently he looked infirm to me, the way he was answering those questions. Like, man who's being taken advantage of. And all I could think was his family needs to do an intervention and get this woman off of his back. But can you set the stage for us on, like, what's happening with this guy?
I'll start by saying I am a diehard New England Patriots fan.
Yeah, you're from Boston.
Diehard. I love Bill Belichick. He's like my guy. He's brought so many championships. I know him personally. He lives on Nantucket. I live on Nantucket. I've met Jordan, so it's a very awkward thing to see. I also watch that show, CBS Sunday Morning, with the interview. It's like my feel-good show. I just like it. I like nature. There's some politics, whatever, but for the most part, that is a drink your coffee, eat your bagel, feel good show. So I was not expecting this interview. I was squirming. I don't know what to expect. I don't know what to think about it. It certainly was awkward. I've heard people say, you know, is she taking advantage of him? Well, he's taking advantage of her. He's sleeping with a very attractive young girl, 50 years younger. I don't know why she's so involved. Like, I really don't. I've met her. She's nice enough. She's running the whole show. I've known that a couple months ago.
How so?
Like, every piece of Bill Belichick business goes through her. Like, she is basically, she would act like if that was maybe not in a romantic relationship and that's his PR manager.
Or like an agent.
Yeah, nobody's blinking at that. Like, that happens, I'm sure, a lot with celebs, but we're not going to talk about it. Now, you combine it with Bill Belichick, who's gruff with the media and generally always handles himself. It's just a very awkward situation. The age gap is huge, clearly, but she runs the show. There's rumors Hard Knocks for HBO was supposed to do North Carolina. She shut that down. The state.
That's where he's the coach now.
Yeah, he's the coach there. So it's just it's such a juxtaposition of a guy who seemingly had no media savvy, but was always just straightforward, no time for the media, now having his life run by a 25-year-old. It certainly is eye-opening for a guy like me. I also know I'm going to run into probably them in Nantucket, and I'm going to be carrying my watermelon out of Stop and Shop, and I don't want it to be an awkward conversation.
Just blame it all on me.
Yeah.
Blame it all on me.
But it went super viral. I mean, it's all anybody's talking about. It's all, because it's just such a departure from how a sports fan, Patriot fan, everybody thought of Bill Belichick.
Well, so explain that to me, because I come into this like out of left field. I know who he is, of course. Even I know who Bill Belichick is.
He's the greatest coach of all time.
But I don't follow his, I didn't know about the girlfriend and all that. To me, he looked out of it. Like, he seemed confused. But I've never, ever seen him give an interview.
Yeah, so I've seen a lot of people, like, he's wearing a holy sweatshirt. That's what he does. Like, that is his look.
Does he talk like that? Like, does he look confused generally?
He generally, if he doesn't want to answer a question, he grumbles and he says, I'm not going to answer that. He's famous for not answering questions. He's never media savvy. Him going on a book tour, which is what he was doing, seems like the last thing he would ever do in a million years. If she wasn't there, I would anticipate him just being like, I'm not going to answer it. He's rarely conducting interviews that he has no interest in. He just doesn't care for the media or what they think. The thing that he said that was the most accurate is probably like, I don't care what people think about me. And clearly he doesn't. But I've never seen him defer to anybody. Like that is
Look
the
out of
most
control.
shocking. Yeah, like if someone else is speaking for him, that never happens. He speaks for himself loudly through his actions, clearly, and is always like a general in the commander of the room, really. So to see him basically give what appears to be control of his life to her is shocking. And
most of the audience has probably seen the clip by now, but just in case they haven't, let's play it for them. Let's play the one where she interrupts. This is Bill Belichick on CBS this morning with anchor Tony Dokoupil and his 24-year-old girlfriend, who's 49 years younger than he is, interrupting the interview. Watch.
The other change for Belichick is 24-year-old Jordan Hudson, his creative muse, as he writes in his book.
Make sure that that's the
Jordan was a constant presence during our interview.
You have Jordan right over there. Everybody in the world seems to be following this relationship. They've got an opinion about your private life. It's got nothing to do with them, but they're invested in it. How do you deal with that?
Never been too worried about what everybody else thinks. Just try to do what I feel like is best for me and what's right.
How did you guys meet?
That's the truth.
not talking about this.
No?
No.
It's a topic neither one of them is comfortable commenting on.
Okay, so now how did you meet? And she interjects, not commenting about this. And there are reports that she actually interjected multiple times. CBS only chose to show the one just to give the audience a true sense of how this thing went down.
And it's about the book. And to CBS's defense, that quote that she is the muse is in the book.
It's in the book. Yeah. Exactly. So now this fight started unfolding online. This is via the Daily Mail, involving Belichick's daughter-in-law. She's married to his son, and her name is Jennifer. She's married to his son, Steve Belichick. Some people were defending Jordan, the girlfriend. For example, somebody posted, former New England Patriots star Julian Edelman.
Saw that.
You know him?
Yep.
Stuck up for her, saying she was merely acting how any PR person would. Comedian Nikki Glazer also defended Hudson, saying 100%. She's acting as his publicist. Publicists do this during interviews. People are out for blood. And first of all, I'll tell you what Jennifer, the daughter-in-law, said, but I have done countless interviews, countless. I've both given as the subject of them and conducted. Literally I've never seen this happen. Never.
Right.
The PR people will come to you before the interview and they will beg you not to cover
or
this.
ask after for it to be cut.
Yes, exactly. That's their job. As a journalist, and Tony Dokoupil is a journalist, you would say, thank you for your input.
Yep.
That's it. You would never make a promise ever. It's literally considered unethical to say, I won't ask about that. At most I've ever heard somebody say is, we can't make you any promises, but we're not that interested in that subject, like a wink and a nod. But never has a PR person ever interjected into an interview
in the middle of it. No,
it's very
we
unusual.
Get people asking. No, if someone doesn't want to talk about it, because people generally want to talk about what you are asking not to talk about, so we won't do it. It's strange. I don't agree with that. It was strange.
Different rules if it's like a host. You know what I mean? If you're sitting to somebody who doesn't consider themselves a journalist, very different. And by the way, this is how talk shows get away with it all the time. I've been asked to go on a bunch of talk shows, including Tamron Hall's like 5 years ago, and her executive producer said, "We'll give you all the questions in advance." I'm like, I'm not doing that. I felt like I don't want that.
Yeah, right.
So she got away with it because they consider that a talk show, but she's not, I guess, calling herself a journalist anymore, or at least wasn't for that show. Okay, so then Jennifer, Belichick's daughter-in-law,
I'm dying to hear this.
weighs in and says publicists act in a professional manner and do not storm off set delaying an interview.
Yeah, so I know them too. This is all like, and that probably tells you everything you need to know about how the family, and that's natural. There's a story that came out in the New York Post, I think yesterday, that she accumulated like $10 million of real estate very quickly. So I'm sure the family, based on that quote, is a little like, what is going on here? And it's just, this is a guy that is not a pushover. He has built his reputation on being like a gruff kind of guy who needs everything particular and detail-oriented. It's just very strange to see.
He's the guy Tim Walsh was trying to convince us he was. No jazz hands.
Yeah.
Football.
Yeah, I don't even know if even he was the guy.
Man.
But yeah, he was trying to, I think, be more like a Gronk guy, but who knows?
Well, there's more. So you know about this because I saw you commented on it. So Bill Belichick posted a statement on the UNC, University of North Carolina, Chapel Hill is where he coaches, right? Chapel Hill, I think.
Yep.
And he wrote as follows. I agreed to speak with CBS Sunday Morning to promote my new book, The Art of Winning. Prior to the interview, I clearly communicated with my publicist. So he's not even saying he told Tony Dokoupil or the CBS publicist. I clearly communicated with my publicist at Simon & Schuster that any promotional interviews I participated in would agree to focus solely on the contents of the book. Unfortunately, that expectation was not honored during the interview. I was surprised when unrelated topics were introduced, and I repeatedly expressed to the reporter, Tony Dokoupil, and the producers that I preferred to keep the conversation centered on the book. After this occurred several times, Jordan, with whom I share both a personal and professional relationship, stepped in to reiterate that point and help refocus the discussion. She was not deflecting any specific question or topic. I'm sorry, Bill, but she was simply doing her job to ensure the interview stayed on track. Some of the clips made it appear as though we were avoiding the question of how we met, but we've been open about the fact that Jordan and I met on a flight to Palm Beach in 2021, and it goes on for them saying these are just selectively edited clips, suggested a false narrative that Jordan was attempting to control the conversation, which is simply not true.
I'm like white knuckling the table. In my years following Bill Belichick, I would say my knowledge of him, there's roughly 0% chance he wrote that. But he just doesn't care generally what anyone thinks about him. So to go write that my guess would be Jordan wrote that.
Totally.
The fact it is on the North Carolina website is insane.
Right.
It's just insane. It's shocking. Again, it's I'm speaking to all Patriot fans, Boston people. This guy, if you could have predicted this, people would say you're living in a bizarro world. It's just so strange, and this long email, crazy, the public statement, crazy. But I'm not even sure he knows that was written.
You're right.
He may not.
How does Greenland fit into all of this?
Well, the Arctic, which has gotten very little attention, but the Arctic Circle and the Arctic region is going to become critical for shipping lanes, for how do you get some of this energy that's going to be produced under President Trump. These energies rely on shipping lanes. The Arctic is some of the most valuable shipping lanes in the world. As some of the ice is melting, it's become more and more navigable. We need to be able to defend that. So if you project what the Chinese have done, it is just a matter of time before, because they are not an Arctic power. They do not have an Arctic presence, so they need to be able to have somewhere that they can stage from. And it is completely realistic to believe that the Chinese will eventually, maybe even in the short term, try to do in Greenland what they have done at the Panama Canal and in other places. And that is install facilities that give them access to the Arctic with the cover of a Chinese company, but that in reality serve a dual purpose, that in a moment of conflict, they could send naval vessels to that facility and operate from there. And that is completely unacceptable to the national security of the world and to the security of the world and the national security of the United States. So the question becomes, if the Chinese begin to threaten Greenland, do we really trust that that is not a place where those deals are going to be made? Do we really trust that that is not a place where they would not intervene?
You don't think Denmark would stop them?
I think that's been the president's point, and that is that Denmark can't stop them. They would rely on the United States to do so. And so his point is, if the United States is on the hook to provide, as we are now, we have a defense agreement with them to protect Greenland if it comes under assault. If we're already on the hook for having to do that, then we might as well have more control over what happens there. And so I know it's a delicate topic for Denmark, but it's, again, a national interest item for the United States.
So there was a conference call between President Trump and the Danish Prime Minister. Apparently didn't go very well. Reportedly involved some sort of a meltdown on the Prime Minister's part. They don't want to give it up. So what options does that leave us? Because President Trump did not rule out economic or potentially military use.
Well, I think President Trump's, what he has said publicly is he wants to buy it. He wants to pay for it. And how we worked on something like that, how something like that is approached, obviously is probably done better in the appropriate forums. A lot of the stuff is done publicly, and it's not helpful because it puts the other side in a tough spot domestically. So those conversations are going to happen, but this is not a joke. Like what he is saying is pretty accurate. People don't talk about it for years. This is not about acquiring land for the purpose of acquiring land. This is in our national interest, and it needs to be solved. President Trump's put out there what he intends to do, which is to purchase it. I wasn't privy to that phone call, but I imagine the phone call went the way a lot of these phone calls go, and that is he just speaks bluntly and frankly with people. And ultimately, I think diplomacy in many cases works better when you're straightforward as opposed to using platitudes and language that translates to nothing.
So when President Trump said he might use economic or military coercion, what does that mean? What is military
I don't remember him saying military coercion.
He
I think
did.
what he was asked, what would you rule out?
Would you rule it out?
Right. I don't think he's in the, listen, he also brings to
But
this.
he said, no, I won't rule it out.
Because he brings to this is a businessman who's involved in politics, not a politician involved in politics. So he approaches these issues from a transactional business point of view. So he is not going to begin what he views as a negotiation or a conversation by taking
anything
leverage off the table.
Okay.
And that's a tactic that's used all the time in business. It's being applied to foreign policy, and I think to great effect in the first term. I mean, you look at the Abraham Accords, and the Democrats mocked the Abraham Accords when they were made. And then by the end of the Biden administration, they became the linchpin of a lot of what we're hoping to build on. That never would have happened had there not been a transactional approach. You look at what his envoy to the Middle East, Steve Witkoff, has achieved. The Biden administration asked Witkoff. They asked for him to be involved in these conversations. He has brought a businessman's approach to a very delicate and intractable foreign policy challenge and delivered a ceasefire that obviously is tenuous and has long-term challenges to it. But there are hostages being released every day. That didn't happen for over a year and a half until he became involved. And that's the president's envoy and very close friend who's brought the same kind of business approach to some of these challenges.
So let's look forward 4 years. Does the U.S. own Greenland?
We'll see. I mean, obviously that's the president's priority, and he has made that point. I think that what I can tell you about 4 years without getting into specifics, because we're not in a position yet to discuss exactly how we'll proceed tactically. What I think you can rest assured of is that 4 years from now, our interest in the Arctic will be more secure. Our interest in the Panama Canal will be more secure. Our partnerships in the Western Hemisphere will be stronger. We need to understand a lot of these countries in Central America, they're not destination sites. They are countries that migrants come through, and that these human trafficking rings run people through. It creates tremendous instability for these countries at a tremendous cost as well. They would welcome help in stopping that migration corridor from continuing because it's destabilizing their countries. So I think we're going to have a Western Hemisphere that's more secure, and our national interest in all parts of the world, that's the goal, are going to be more secure from the Arctic to Central America to even Africa.
According to Outkick, which has been doing great reporting on this, not the first time that Angel Jussie Smollett Reese has made up a fake racism claim. Last June, according to Outkick, she accused a fan of harassing her and her black teammates and, quote, blocking them from entering their team hotel. A subsequent video of the scene and the comments from her own general manager told a very different story. They report that in June of 2024, her team, the Chicago Sky, was in Washington, D.C. for a game, and Angel Reese posted to X, quote, finding out our team's hotel to pull a camera as we get off the bus and put it in my teammate's face and harass her is nasty work. This really is out of control and needs to stop. Sky forward Michaela Anyawari accused someone of calling somebody else on the team and other women ghetto bitches. Isabel Harrison said this man stormed them to the point they couldn't even step off the bus. However, reports Outkick, months later, there's still zero proof of the alleged incident, and all evidence continues to suggest it did not happen in the way Reese and her teammates tell it. There is video from the scene. The man in question does not harass, storm at, threaten, or get in the face of the players, as the women stated. Rather, he simply recorded himself asking Carter, one of the players, if she had a chance to reach out to Caitlin Clark. Via the New York Post, the players on the Sky team claim the video was edited and fails to capture the man's alleged harassment. But in an interview with the Chicago Sun-Times a week after, the GM of the team, Jeff Pagliaccia, described the incident exactly as shown in this clip. Quote, it was over as fast as it started. I'm very confident in our security, always making our players feel safe. He said, quote, the man had a camera, was trying to approach guard Chennedy Carter. However, security was able to de-escalate the situation without the assistance of police. Here is the clip that we have of the incident.
Ms. Carter, have you gotten a chance to reach out to Caitlin?
Hey, man, come on with that.
Relax. Have you gotten a chance to reach out to Caitlin? Trinity, have you gotten a chance? The basketball world wants to know if you've gotten a chance to reach out to her.
This is the alleged terrible, terrible man who pulled the camera as we get off the bus, put in my teammate's face, and harass, in all caps, her. It's nasty work. It needs to stop. And that he was allegedly calling the women ghetto bitches, which is strange because I did not hear ghetto bitches on the tape. Outkick has been asking this team, the Chicago Sky team, what happened? What's the truth? Because what you allege does not match up with the video nor the GM's description of what actually happened, and asking whether they stand by Angel Reese's allegations. The team refuses to respond. They've also tried to contact several members of the team for comment. They've all refused to respond.
I mean, again, this is something that happened very commonly in the wake of the Black Lives Matter and the George Floyd incident, where we invented all of these very, sensitive frameworks for when racism happens, for when you're supposed to object and launch a sort of scandal. And I think people got to the point where they realized, if you're going to raise serious racism accusations, you need to have a serious basis for it. It seems like the whole country moved on from this sort of thing. I don't know why the NCAA, the Women's Basketball Association, is continuously engulfed in these sort of thing. Yeah, the WNBA. Given that this is the sort of thing that is going to alienate people, that whole incident with Caitlin Clark and Angel Reese, with that foul that Caitlin Clark made on Angel Reese, which I've watched men's basketball for decades. Every single time a shooter is open, someone comes and tries to foul them by slapping the ball out of their hands, which is exactly what she did. But because of those two players, it became some sort of racial dynamic. I don't know what it is about this league. I do think they've defined themselves in this very politically oriented way, almost more so than the basketball. And I think it's ultimately going to just drive people away, because people go to watch basketball, not to be engulfed in all of these fake scandals all the time.
Exactly right. It's we barely want to watch the WNBA to begin with. People started to watch it because Caitlin Clark came in and was a total phenom. And the female Michael Jordan is how people were describing her. And so she got bottoms in the seats, and she got tickets sold, and she got people watching on television. And then the response from the league was uniform hate. I shouldn't say uniform. Seems majority hate toward her, especially this Angel Reese, who obviously can't stand her and is insanely jealous of her and the attention she's getting, rather than basking in it, rather than enjoying the bigger spotlight that is on her as well. And you can get away with this because the WNBA seems to be just fine with anti-white racism, and with Caitlin Clark going out there to flagellate herself with the I'm working on my white privilege as she gets nominated as the, Time Athlete of the Year. That's what she's got to make sure she says. So she's happy to play the game. And, isn't really making a stand one way or the other than to make sure everybody knows she realizes that she's got inherent bias too and white privilege.
And I do think the sports media is very much to blame. I guess people went into sports journalism excited about following the sports, the business of major professional leagues. These are interesting things. And at some point they decided, no, this is not enough. We have to get on a soapbox and be leaders of anti-racism efforts or anti-women efforts. And they turned themselves into these social justice warriors. So people were tuning into ESPN to find out about the latest highlights of various games. And instead they were being subjected to these lectures by these very cliched, banal people whose, understanding of politics is very thin deep. And it was these constant lectures about social justice. And I guess the NBA sector still hasn't really stopped.
So why is it that the same people who heard these alleged racist comments from the crowd, none of which were substantiated, were not able, because they could use their ears for that, were not able to see with their eyes what Brittany Griner was mouthing? Why was it so clear in the one instance and so unclear in the other, such that it didn't even warrant reporting along the lines of what I just did, which is, here's the dispute. Some people say she looked like she was saying X. Other people say she looked like she was saying Y. They didn't even get that treatment by these same outraged anchors. They're quick to run to the flames when it could be anti-black racism, but when it could be anti-white racism, crickets.
Yeah, I looked at Brittany Griner. To be honest, it seemed to me, and I'm no lip reading expert, but it seemed pretty clear that she was saying something with a racial intent about Caitlin Clark. I don't even really care that much. Like, it's the heat of a basketball game. It's an ugly thing to say. Like, why are you saying that? But why do we need national investigations every time somebody might have said something like a little bit inappropriate or a little bit off in the heat of the moment? That's the thing I thought we had left behind. You know, people in 80,000 person arenas are going to say certain things that players hear or don't hear very well. Just, you know, why do we need these constant scandals in order for people then to, you know, get on that high horse and say racism is unacceptable, and half the time it turns out it was all invented in the first place?
I know.
Like, talk about the game.
This July, there's a global summit of BRICS nations in Rio de Janeiro. The bloc of emerging potential superpowers, including China, Russia, India, and Iran, are meeting with the goal of displacing the U.S. dollar as the global currency. They're calling this the Rio Reset. As BRICS nations push forward with their plans, some worry global demand for U.S. dollars could decrease, potentially bringing down the value of the dollars in your savings. While this transition will not happen overnight, the Rio Reset could mark a pivotal moment. So learn if diversifying your savings into gold is right for you. Birch Gold Group can help you move your hard-earned savings into a tax-sheltered IRA and precious metals. Claim your free info kit on gold by texting MK to the number 989898. With an A+ rating with the Better Business Bureau and tens of thousands of happy customers, let Birch Gold arm you with a free, no-obligation info kit on owning gold before July and the so-called Rio Reset. Text MK to 989898 today. Thanks so much for watching. If you like what you just saw, hit the subscribe button for more clips and full episodes. Good morning, everyone. I'm Megyn Kelly. It's Friday, May 23rd, 2025, and this is your AM update.
When the cops actually came in, he said, "I did this." He said, "Sir, I'm unarmed."
A young couple murdered in a horrific incident of anti-Semitism. Musician Kid Cudi takes the stand in the Sean Diddy Combs criminal trial.
There's something wrong, and we will not stop until we defeat the chronic disease epidemic in America. We're going to get it done.
HHS releases a startling report on the health epidemic plaguing America's children, identifying 4 key drivers of chronic illness. And the Trump administration with a bold move against Harvard University in the ongoing battle to enforce civil rights on campus. All that and more coming up in just a moment on your AM update. It was not supposed to get this bad. You were on top of your bills and then inflation hit. Been there. Groceries, gas, everything shot up, and now prices are up 26% from just a few years ago. 26%. It's not necessarily your fault if you have fallen into debt. Let me share a smarter, faster, far easier way out of debt. It's called Done With Debt, and they are not like other debt relief companies. They don't push loans or bankruptcy on you. Done With Debt has legendary negotiators who go head-to-head with your credit card and loan companies. They have one goal: to drastically reduce or eliminate your debt altogether. They move lightning fast. Most clients see more money in their pocket month 1. But a word to the wise: hurry, because some of their debt erasing strategies are time sensitive. Consider talking to a Done With Debt strategist before you make another bill payment. It's free. Visit donewithdebt.com. That's donewithdebt.com. donewithdebt.com. A horrifying anti-Semitic incident Wednesday night in Washington, D.C. A young couple murdered in what law enforcement believes is a targeted attack. The victims, 30-year-old Yaron Lashinsky and 26-year-old Sarah Milgram, romantic partners and staffers at the Israeli embassy, attending an event at the Capitol Jewish Museum. Around 9 p.m., the suspect, Elias Rodriguez, allegedly walked past 4 individuals, including the couple, then brandished a handgun, shooting at their backs. According to the affidavit, once the victims fell to the ground, the suspect advanced toward them, firing again. As Ms. Milgram attempted to crawl away, quote, he followed behind her and fired again. The suspect then entering the Jewish Museum after a witness said he ditched the gun in some bushes. Here's more of the witness describing the aftermath to Fox 5 News.
He was covered in rain. He was clearly in trauma. He was in shock. And, some of the people at the event brought him water. They sat him down. Are you okay? Were you shot? What happened? And he's like, somebody called the cops, bring the cops in. So about 10 minutes later, when the cops actually came in, he said, I did this. He said, sir, I'm unarmed. He put his hands up. He grabbed a red keffiyeh out of his pocket and started the Free Palestine chants. You know, there's only one solution, Intifada revolution. And he was being dragged out of the building as he was yelling Free Palestine.
Video from the scene showing the alleged killer in cuffs pulled from the building by police.
Free, free Palestine! Free, free Palestine! Free, free Palestine!
As for the victims, Mr. Leshensky had been planning to propose to Miss Milgram next week during a trip to meet Leshensky's family in Jerusalem, according to Israel's ambassador to the U.S. He had purchased the ring. The couple met a year and a half ago while working at the Israeli embassy in Washington. Sarah Milgram, who was Jewish, grew up in Kansas and worked in the public diplomacy department of the embassy. The American Jewish Committee, which hosted the young diplomat's reception where she was killed, describing her as, quote, warm and compassionate, committed to peace building, and passionate about sustainability and people-to-people relations. Her father telling the New York Times Milgram once worked in Israel for an organization connecting young Israelis and Palestinians. Mr. Leshensky was born in Germany, moving to Israel as a teenager. He worked as a research assistant at the embassy. The Israeli ambassador to Germany, who had once been his professor, calling him, quote, a Christian, a true lover of Israel, served in the IDF and chose to dedicate his life to the state of Israel and the Zionist cause. He embodied the Judeo-Christian values and set an example for young people worldwide. Attorney General Pam Bondi, in a Wednesday night press briefing, promising law enforcement is fully engaged.
We'll be doing everything in our power to keep all citizens safe, especially tonight our Jewish community. Our prayers go out. We have the FBI. All of our federal agencies will work hand in hand with you, Chief, as we have done, and you, Mayor, to do everything we can to keep our citizens safe. We will follow the facts. We will follow the law. And this defendant, if charged, will be prosecuted to the fullest extent of the law.
The suspect is facing charges including murder of foreign officials, causing the death of a person through the use of a firearm, discharge of a firearm during a crime of violence, and 2 counts of first-degree murder. The New York Post reporting the suspect was once tied to the Party for Socialism and Liberation, the group confirming the link, but saying the association ended in 2017 and condemning the shooting. The Post also reporting the suspect participated in a 2017 Black Lives Matter protest in Chicago. An apparent manifesto circulating online with the shooter's name attached, the 900-word statement dated 1 day before the attack, in which the author rails about, quote, atrocities committed by Israelis against Palestine. President Trump responding to the attack in a Truth Social post, quote, these horrible D.C. killings based obviously on anti-Semitism must end now. Hatred and radicalism have no place in the USA. Condolences to the families of the victims. So sad that such things as this can happen. God bless you all. Coming up, musician Kid Cudi called to the stand in the Sean Diddy Combs criminal trial, at one point describing the music mogul as a Marvel supervillain. And a new HHS report identifies 4 key drivers of the chronic disease epidemic harming American children. I would like to introduce you to a new brand of Angus beef. You can order it directly from Riverbend Ranch, which is located just a few miles from West Yellowstone, Montana. Riverbend Ranch raises their cattle a lot differently than most ranches. For example, they never use artificial growth hormones or antibiotics. They track the health of every animal from the day it is born and can guarantee that it has been healthy every day of its life. And they handle their animals humanely and with respect. But most important is the quality of the beef. You'll find it as tender and flavorful as the finest restaurants. And that's because they have spent the last 35 years selecting cattle for tenderness and flavor, aging their beef to perfection for 21 days. The result is some of the most tender and flavorful beef you have ever tasted. You cannot buy beef like this in a grocery store, and since it is shipped directly from the ranch to your home, you get a much better price than going through the middlemen. Order directly from riverbendranch.com. Use promo code Megyn to get $20 off your first order. That's riverbendranch.com, code Megyn. And be prepared. Once you taste it, you're going to be coming back for more. Again, that's riverbendranch.com, code Megyn. Musician Kid Cudi, whose real name is Scott Miscuddy, called to testify on Wednesday in the Sean Diddy Combs criminal trial. Kid Cudi is a former boyfriend of star witness Cassie Ventura. Last week, Ventura testified to participating in the Diddy freak-offs, extended sex events with sex workers allegedly under Diddy's direction, while she was in a relationship for a time with Kid Cudi. Ventura telling the court she viewed the freak-offs as a job. Ventura admitted to keeping a burner phone in order to keep her relationship with Kid Cudi private from Combs. According to Ventura, Combs discovered her burner phone during a freak-off, alerting him to the relationship with Kid Cudi. Ventura testified that Combs threatened to blow up Kid Cudi's car when he found out. Prosecutors asking Kid Cudi about the car incident on Thursday. The witness telling prosecutors in January of 2012, he got a phone call from his dog watcher saying his car was on fire. Kid Cudi describing the damage saying, quote, "It looks like the top of my Porsche was cut open and that's where the Molotov cocktail was put in." After the car fire, Kid Cudi telling prosecutors he contacted Combs, quote, "He had been wanting to talk to me, so after the fire, I was like, this is getting out of hand. I need to talk to him." Combs' staff set up a meeting at a private club. Kid Cudi telling prosecutors, quote, "Sean Combs was standing there, staring out the window with his hands behind his back, like a Marvel supervillain." The witness telling prosecutors he believed the relationship between Ventura and Combs had ended. Kid Cudi also testifying to asking Combs about his car. Telling the court when he asked about the car, Combs responding, quote, "I don't know what you're talking about." On cross-examination, the witness testifying that Ventura told him that Combs was physically abusive, but did not reveal any sexual abuse. The defense attorney suggesting Ventura lived a double life and was playing both Kid Cudi and Combs. Kid Cudi agreed. On redirect, Kid Cudi telling prosecutors he and Ventura broke up in December 2011 because he was concerned for her safety as well as his own. Quote, "I knew Sean Combs was violent." Kid Cudi also telling prosecutors he believed Combs was lying when he told Cudi he did not know what happened to his car. Kid Cudi's testimony is part of the prosecution's effort to establish a broader pattern of violent and coercive behavior, central to their case that Combs was running a criminal enterprise. Combs is charged with racketeering conspiracy, sex trafficking by force, fraud, or coercion, and transportation to engage in prostitution. Under racketeering laws, prosecutors must prove Combs committed at least 2 underlying crimes, which can include arson, forced labor, kidnapping, obstruction of justice, and more. Combs pleading not guilty to all charges. If convicted, he'll face life in prison. HHS releasing a new report identifying 4 key drivers of America's childhood chronic disease crisis: poor diet, exposure to environmental chemicals, lack of physical activity and chronic stress, and over-medicalization. The report sounding the alarm, quote, "Today's children are the 6th generation in American history in terms of chronic disease, and these preventable trends continue to worsen each year." President Trump reading out some of the report's alarming findings in a Make America Healthy Again roundtable.
More than 40% of American children now have at least one chronic health condition. Since the 1970s, rates of childhood cancer have soared in many cases by nearly 50%, 50%. Well, in the 1960s, less than 5% of the children were obese. Now over 20% are obese. A few decades ago, 1 in 1, think of this one. This is, to me, the one that gets me every time, and it seems to be getting worse. Just a few decades ago, 1 in 10,000 children had autism. Today, it's 1 in 31. Last time I heard the number is 1 in 34, right? Now it's 1 in 31. There's something wrong, and we will not stop until we defeat the chronic disease epidemic in America. We're going to get it done.
Among the leading culprits of the chronic disease epidemic, ultra-processed foods. The report finding nearly 70% of children's daily calories come from these products, leading to poor nutrition and excessive calorie intake. It also flags growing exposure to harmful chemicals, citing pesticides as a major concern. On glyphosate, a widely used herbicide, the report references studies linking it to reproductive disorders, cancer, liver inflammation, and metabolic damage. Declining physical activity, identifying as another red flag, the report calls children's activity level in the digital age a crisis, noting over 70% of children between 6 and 17 fail to meet federal physical activity guidelines, a trend tied to reduced in-school recess and skyrocketing screen time. And finally, over-medicalization. The report finding 1 in 5 kids estimated to have taken a prescription drug in the past 30 days. The report saying the issue needs to be studied more, but calling it, quote, a concerning trend of overprescribing medications to children, often driven by conflicts of interest in medical research, regulation, and practice. This marks an initial assessment. A full policy strategy aimed at addressing these findings is expected in August. Homeland Security Secretary Kristi Noem on Thursday announcing Harvard University will no longer be permitted to enroll international students, meaning any non-citizen student will be required to transfer to maintain their student visa. The secretary offering to reinstate the university's student and exchange visitor program if the school complies with Homeland Security requests within 72 hours. DHS is requesting records related to any illegal, dangerous, or violent activity or threats made by any foreign students, as well as any video or audio footage of protest activity on or off campus within the past 5 years. Secretary Noem informing the university in a letter, quote, "This action should not surprise you and is the unfortunate result of Harvard's failure to comply with simple reporting requirements. Harvard has been resisting full compliance with the administration's recent request for information about international students, ultimately claiming that only a few students' data would be responsive. DHS now accusing the Ivy League university of failure to comply with simple reporting requirements while, quote, perpetuating an unsafe campus environment that is hostile to Jewish students, promotes pro-Hamas sympathies, and employs racist DEI policies. As a result of the move, Harvard is prohibited from allowing anyone on academic or exchange visas for the 2025-2026 school year. Any students currently enrolled on those visas will have to transfer to another school to maintain their legal status. In the 2024-25 school year, there were about 6,800 international students at Harvard, approximately 27% of Harvard's enrollment. The move is the latest in the Trump administration's effort to crack down on illegal displays of on-campus anti-Semitism and hold universities accountable for failing to enforce federal law. A legal challenge is expected. That'll do it for your AM update. I'm Megyn Kelly. Join me back here for the Megyn Kelly Show, live on SiriusXM Triumph Channel 111 at noon East, on youtube.com/Megyn Kelly, and on all podcast platforms. So last night, the subject of his schizophrenia came up on CNN, and Caroline Downey, who's with National Review, tried to make a point about it. Here's how that went.
He served time for his violent offenses.
Not for his schizophrenia.
Why?
That's not a crime.
That's not a crime.
No, I know, but I'm saying that was compounding this entire issue.
Yeah, I know,
the fact that he lashed out violently on that
I know,
train.
I'm just saying he did actually serve time for the violent offenses that he committed.
But he was a career criminal, a repeat offender who was let back onto our streets despite a really bad criminal record that suggests he should have been locked away for life because he was threatening the public. He was a menace to society.
He should have been locked away for life for what now?
He should have schizophrenia.
You want him to?
You actually said that. I can't believe you actually said that. Somebody should be locked away in jail forever for schizophrenia. Did you really say that?
You said he should be locked away for life for schizophrenia.
That is what you said. He should be institutionalized. Yes, and if you're saying he should not, you're saying that young women like you and me are basically just, we are lambs into the slaughter. You go on public transportation in this city, that could happen to any single one of us.
I use public transit constantly. That is completely unhinged, frankly. People shouldn't be locked away for mental illness. They should be treated for it.
In an institution. Yes.
Yes, Allie, what he needed talk therapy. That's what DeCarlos Brown Jr. needed.
If people like this who are surrounding Caroline are anywhere close to power, we will continue to have situations like this on a consistent basis. Look, this is not a one-off. Sure, he does seem like a nutcase, but also at the same time, I just want to say evil people say evil things. People who are violent are also liars. Yeah, he's probably crazy, but he could just also be making excuses for the fact that he's a bad person who does bad things, and he doesn't want to take responsibility for that. That is like the pattern of a lot of criminals. But also, I want to say something about our mental health system. What we have realized, especially since COVID, a lot has happened over the past 5 years and revelations about many different things, is that our mental health system in general is actually exacerbating the problem of instability and violence, not reducing the violence that is caused by people who may have these mental health diagnoses, because so many of the pharmaceuticals actually have on their label as potential side effects psychosis, violence against others, violence against yourself, deepening these episodes of depression and anxiety and paranoia. I don't know what pharmaceuticals this guy was on, if he was on any, but for anyone to say, well, he just needs treatment, he just needs more psychology, he just needs more psychiatry, obviously not. Obviously not. He had probably been getting that for some time. Caroline is absolutely right. For this kind of manifestation of this kind of mental illness, yes, locked away for life, because they are all saying exactly what Caroline said they are saying, which is that you, young woman, you white woman, you are worth the sacrifice. We are going to put you on the altar of social justice, of racial equity, and you are going to like it. People like that on that round table, yes, exactly, should never be close to power.
Yeah, no, exactly right. I have absolutely no qualms about this guy going away for life before this crime. It's his life or our lives. Why should we, the perfectly law-abiding sane ones, have to put our lives on the line just to get on the light rail? It's absurd. He's the one. I'm sorry. He's got to go. And we've had too many instances that prove that to us. Nonetheless, it's not just the CNN panel. Got one for you too, Megyn. Here's Whoopi Goldberg this morning over on The View.
A young woman is dead. Let's take that into consideration. And yes, a man who should have been behind bars was loose and out. Well, he should have been. Well, listen. Yeah. He was a schizophrenic man. His mother begged them to take him and put him away. So stop politicizing this. This is not political. Yeah. This has to do with how we take care of our sick Americans when they are in need.
Not political at all.
Okay, so a point of order first, going back to that CNN panel, is that he was not put away for all of those crimes. For most of those crimes, he did go away for the armed robbery. But for multiple other crimes, he was credited with time served, giving community service, and probation. So he was not serving time for the crimes he committed. Second point of order, he didn't just have the encounters with the police that we know about where he was arrested. There were additional points. We know at least 3 times in 2024, so just last year, he had encounters with the police where they didn't arrest him. They referred him to quote unquote resources. So we know that they were supposedly trying to refer him to the kinds of mental health help that all of these people are saying, well, that's what he should have been given. Well, the community policing forces that he encountered did try to do that, and he wasn't forced to accept it, and so he didn't. So he continued to be a menace on our public streets. And that is the point of why that absolutely, yes, this is political, because those were the policies that allowed him to be on that train so that he could stab Irina Zarutska in the neck. So to try to separate this from politics, in fact, to try to separate it from identity politics is impossible, because it was the identity politics that played a role in why he was out there being a menace to society. So, you know, when I look at this, I go, one, they're not being dishonest about this man, or they're not being honest about this man's background, but they're also then not being honest about the role that identity politics and the social justice movement in the wake of George Floyd played in his being out there and being available to commit this crime.
Mm-hmm. Just a follow-up, too, on the problems with the North Carolina judges involved in all of this. I mentioned the one judge, Teresa Stokes, and what she did, and then the other judge, Roy Wiggins, and what he did. But Jesse Waters actually did a good piece on Fox last night on who appointed Teresa Stokes as magistrate judge from the lowest rated law school in the country, who's not even a practicing lawyer, who doesn't appear to have her bar card. It was someone named Alyssa Chin Gary, who's the clerk of the Superior Court. Stokes was nominated by the clerk, and then Stokes was appointed by Judge Carla Archie. Chin Gary, the one who nominated her, her bio on the Mecklenburg Bar Association says she's the family court administrator and a leader in building and strengthening race matters for juvenile justice. Under Chin Gary's leadership, Race Matters for Juvenile Justice partnered with all these other groups to train more than 200 leaders in a series of workshops entitled Dismantling Racism. Those are the qualifications she wanted us to know she had in order to select future magistrate court judges who would be making assessments on bail and whether somebody like Brown would have to stay in the system. Her LinkedIn says that she's a judge of Superior Court and of probate, racial equity organizer, diversity and inclusion consultant. She then wrote, in 2014, I was named the Julius L. Chambers Diversity Champion, conferred by the Mecklenburg County Bar to celebrate persons in our community who advance the cause of diversity and equal opportunity. This is giving me total LA fire chief vibes, right? Black and a lesbian. I'm black and I'm a lesbian. Can you fight fire? Who cares? See points 1 and 2. Who gives a crap about all these like diversity equity initiatives she's involved in? Do you have any qualifications to pick magistrate judges? And in North Carolina, they said, yes, those are the qualifications. She's right on. She's assessed our interests perfectly. The mayor, who you mentioned before, who I call vile, this is a picture of the mayor at the George Floyd funeral. Here she is. On her knees, George Floyd. She's deeply upset about George Floyd and his passing. We'll show you the picture. But that's who she's working for effectively. Distraught. This is Mayor Vi after George Floyd. Okay, going on. Judge Carla Archie, the one who actually made the appointment of the magistrate judge, Teresa Stokes. 2019 Diversity Champion Award winner. She posted this photo in 2020 on her LinkedIn wearing her mask. It reads "Vaxxed" with a good dose of holiday cheer. And on it goes from there. So the whole system, Megyn, was set up. It was set up to see a guy like DeCarlos Brown and send him right out the revolving door so that Whoopi Goldberg could then say, well, this isn't political. It's just about how we treat the unwell, knowing full well that we don't lock them up in this country anymore. We haven't for decades. So unless they are incarcerated in an actual prison or we revamp our mental health asylum situation, he's going to be free on the streets to kill more.
Yeah, and again, when I look at that picture of Vi Lyles, I just go to the fact that they all had her, Josh Stein, Roy Cooper, all had something to say much more quickly about George Floyd in another state than they did about someone who was a resident of their own state in North Carolina who they were responsible for. It's just appalling. And I'm going to be honest, at this point, when I hear those resumes, when I hear I'm an expert in anti-racism training, or this was the, diversity, equity, inclusion, bona fides that I have, at that point, that's actually a disqualification for me. If I see that on your resume, I don't want you hired for the job.
When inflation jumps, when you hear the national debt is over $37 trillion, do you ever think maybe now would be a good time to buy some gold? Well, you'd be right. Whether as a hedge against inflation, peace of mind during global instability, or just for sensible diversification, Birch Gold Group believes every American should own physical gold. And so they created something special. Until September 30th, if you're a first-time gold buyer, Birch Gold is offering a rebate of up to $10,000 in free metals on qualifying purchases. To claim eligibility and start the process, request an info kit right now. Just text MK to 989898. Plus, Birch Gold can help you roll an existing IRA or 401k into an IRA in gold, and you're still eligible for a rebate in free metals of up to $10,000. So make right now your first time to buy gold and take advantage of a rebate up to $10,000 when you buy before September 30th. Text MK to the number 989898 to claim your eligibility and get your free info kit. Thanks so much for watching. If you like what you just saw, hit the subscribe button for more clips and full episodes.